Help! Fucking void!
Well,
Dale!
well, no,
Max!
it's not usually just me here.
Deep in the source, apparently, Max. And
Yeah,
my tech cannot see the light of day.
no, apparently not. I don't even know if they can see you.
Hang on. Whoa, whoa.
Oh, hey, there we
Out
go.
of jail. Alright. And welcome on in to the Four Nations promotion stage. Obviously, the mains now in the taillights as Venomcrest claim another win in a nail biter against Wick.
They can't keep getting away with this.
I missed that. I'm still very sad about that. But Summer, we'll see about Summer.
Mm.
We've got the other end of the now to see to though, Max, as Bulldog Academy now need to fight for their spot in Division 1 against formerly DMG UK, now Absolved GG, and Natives Academy.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, Division 2, they've been doing really well for themselves recently, obviously. In this most recent split, yeah, exactly. They promote themselves Symbol, who unfortunately weren't able to play out the entirety of their split, but in the couple of games we saw, were looking pretty strong. And obviously Inquick, who get themselves into the finals, they win the regular season, they're one game away from actually being able to take the title. Clearly Division 2 produces some really strong teams, so it's going to be very exciting to see how they stack up here against the bottom end of Division 1 from this split.
And I think coming into this, hyped up Division 2, but Bulldog Academy, there's no nice way to say it, they had a really bad split. They won a single game in regular season. And now, yeah, you can't really just say, oh, well, you know, favoured because they're the Div 1. They're looking at three teams that could be, at least in theory, relevant.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really was not the best time of it overall for Bulldog, right? They buy up the spot, they jump in, and it's not great. I mean, they weren't able to actually pick themselves up a single win during the regular season, which always sucks. You know, you never like to see a team go completely winless throughout an entire split, but they've now got a real opportunity.
It's interesting. Because, like, the Vertex squad, like, they made some moves, usually off the back of some, like, play. We saw, like, the Corky jungles and such like. But, yeah, not the case with Bulldog Academy, who will be going up first, of course. We've got 3 best of ones in a round robin tonight. And first will be Bulldog Academy going up against Absolved. New name, but of course it's just a different face on DMG UK. But we've got some fun names here.
Yeah, I mean, Gibble is back. We get to see some Gibble play again. Always really exciting to see what Gibble can do.
Such a fun player.
Such a fun player, such a fun name. Gibble Goes Gomp is always so... Or Chomp, or... I mean, it changes all the time, that last little bit, but just such a fun player. And exciting to see, you know, what they can actually do coming into the rest of this one. Obviously, we can see the Bulldog Academy roster right here, and... It just didn't work. It just did not work during the regular split. That's not to say that they can't fix their problems. Obviously, they've had a little while here between the end of the regular split while we were going through our playoffs into now. Maybe they'll have been able to fix a couple of their issues, because it wasn't necessarily that they were just getting gapped in all of their lanes, now was it? It was very much that just the way that the team play happened just wasn't there.
Yeah, their games, they built up, they just weren't quite able to convert them, which was repeatedly their problem. To do this tournament, there are differences in the team. Heyo, aka Harakari, is, I believe, noted down as a substitute for this. Instead, we've got Reigning Tack coming in, although at least at a surface level, like they're going to do fairly similar things. Like Harakari loved picking. I'm looking at Reigning Tacos here. I see a Kindred. I see an Elise. Probably not in a comp set. They speak to a similar playstyle.
Exactly, and I think that is what this roster really needed, was a carry jungler. Obviously, they had it previously, but if you are a little bit weaker once it comes to the team play, the team fights, then you need a jungler who can get you through the early stages of the game, play aggressively, try to build yourself up those leads, because a gold lead goes a heck of a long way to plastering over any issues you may have with your macro, and it is good to see that they're going to be continuing on with that same style of play here. And hey, Reigning Tacos, maybe even with these carry junglers, it will be a slightly different playstyle, and perhaps often the junglers, right, are the people who have to do all of of the shot calling, who have to make sure that they have the team on a pretty tight leash. And if Raining Tacos has got a slightly different style, maybe it'll work a little bit better right here for Bulldog.
Quite possibly. The question, of course, is among the two junglers, we have Tea Time, who is a player who has been around, it feels like forever.
Yeah, very, very much so. And again, when we're looking through what they like to play, seems pretty aggressive. Maybe it's not quite as aggressive fully, right, as what we were seeing from Tacos, but still, likes to pick up the Pantheon, likes to pick up the Neferi. Those are champions that you can get super aggressive on early on, and the champions that are just in a really strong spot in the overall meta at the moment. We already talked a little bit about Gibble as well. I mean, there's a lot of names that you know on this roster, and hey, it did really well for itself during Division 2, as DMG was able to pick up that title and everything, so yeah, it was looking great.
Going on from here, we'll have to see how, obviously, this is sort of a first taster, perhaps, of them going up against a Division 1 side.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if they put on a good show here, then we could very much be, starting to against some of the Div.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it very much is, you want to get through this, you want to get yourself promoted, of course you do, but also, alongside that, you want to put in the best showing possible to prove that, hey, Division 2, Division 1, they're not that separate from each other, you know? We've got a ton of movement between players, between the two ecosystems, and we will jump on into the draft right here. Now, obviously, we've had a few patches since we've really seen a lot of League of Legends here on the Four Nations, but overall, I gotta be honest, things are pretty similar.
Yeah, I think the sort of... They've been trying to deal with outlier picks, which means that the core of the meta has remained relatively strong. As we do see some fairly standard, fairly standard targeting of priority towards comfort picks.
Yeah.
I talked about the fact that there is an awful lot of getting spotted for the side of Bulldog. That is not going to be allowed for him. Sharpie is the Urgot connoisseur of the Four Nations, alongside Loopy from the Bandits. He will not be allowed that also. And Emil, I mean, again, the other player who has been around the block.
Yeah.
He's been big control mage player, so not a shock to see the Azir gone. I could easily see him fall back to something like a Victor. He's not sweating.
No, very much not. I think when I think about Emil, there's a ton of picks that he's going to be absolutely fine on, has played just a ton of different things, but the Azir is definitely one of those pickups that's just very easy to play around. Now, see if things have changed too much, or if things are going to be quite similar at the moment. Is it just going to be Varus B1? It is. It's just going to be Varus B1. As we said, right, as much as it has been these individual champions that have been taken down or changed around a little bit, the core very much is going to be the same. Still, though, there's a ton of decent champions still up and available. If we do want to see some aggression up in the top side of the map, the Rumble's still incredibly strong. Things like the Ambessa, the Cassante as well, also just in a great spot if you want to just take the head off of your opponents and then play across the rest of the map. Sivir locked in this early on. Interesting. Now, we have been seeing the Sivir on the rise recently. At the same time, though, I haven't necessarily been thinking that Sivir is one of these champions you want to pick up for yourself this early on in the draft, because it's pretty telegraphed in what you want to do.
I mean, this is one of the sort of situations where it could just be a call-out of, okay, well, if I go Sivir into a Varus lane, I can play safe and enable Gibble to play around the map, because, like, what's Varus going to do? You're going to Chain of Corruption a Sivir? That's not going to fly.
No, absolutely not. At the same time, though, it does also mean that you're kind of conceding this bottom lane, right? You're not really going to be thinking this bottom lane is where we want to be playing around a ton, and it is very interesting to see it picked alongside the Pantheon, because usually you want the Pantheon into these more aggressive early game based compositions, right? You want to pair it up with something mobile in the mid lane. We'll see if they can grab something mobile for Emil, but then you need some lanes to go and gank too. You can play around the top side potentially, depending on what the pickups are going to be, but the bot side really isn't necessarily going to be somewhere you're looking to play around too much, and it just limits the Pantheon's options.
Well, right now, we've got a pretty solid pairing towards the top side. Renekton, that feels like any top lane 2v2 to be incredibly difficult to win. The response is the Gragas. Right now, I've got a bit of a flex, but it could go quite comfortably, I think, into either the Volibear or the Renekton, just a mitigating pick. But that does leave a bit of a question mark towards the Pantheon, as you say, likes to be in more aggressive comps, and that's not really what we're seeing out of Absolved right now.
No, for the minute, Absolve, it seems a little bit more like... I just feel like this composition at the moment doesn't really have its true identity yet. You'd want to go into the super stages of the late game with the Gragas and the Sivir potentially, but the Gragi can play a little bit more around the early game, but the Pantheon fully all in about the early game. Whereas Bulldog, I feel like they know a little bit more what they're trying to do. You could kind of ignore the Varus down in that bottom lane, and then you want to play around this Renekton and the Volibear. We are expecting it very much to be the Volibear into the jungle, and it's a pickup that I personally really love, but it really depends on what the build is going to be. Volibear has an incredibly diverse set of builds. You can go towards more AP focused ones that are going to take you into the late stages of the game with Aroa, or you can just go full tank and beat people's heads off right at the very beginning of the game. Into the Pantheon, I'm actually not sure what's going to be best in this situation. You can just try go toe to toe with him in the early game, but maybe you do want to have a little bit more of that late game insurance.
I feel like there's, because the builds that I can go for are so versatile,
yeah,
you can sort of pick and choose the ones like, okay, I can brawl against the Pantheon a little bit in the early stage of the game. I don't dominate the 1v1, but there's a junglers. How often are junglers having straight up 1v1s?
Exactly, yeah.
And be able to scale through the game, and of course the Volibear going to be quite potentially getting past a wall of CC, the Gragas trying to stop you from reaching that. Back Volibear presses Stormbringer, and just sort of laughs at that.
Absolutely, it does. Going to be the Ahri picked up right here for Emil, another one of those standard mid laners that we've been seeing quite a lot of. Can often just sort of shut down whatever's happening in the mid lane. You aren't necessarily going to die to any solo kills in the mid lane, but you can also roam around pretty effectively alongside the Pantheon. I don't mind it. Alongside that, I think I prefer when you have the extra mobile champions in the mid lane. I think the Talia, the Ryze, those are really, really fun, but the Ahri is also just a really solid combo. You've got a ton of pretty easy to land CC as well. See what Mike is actually going to lock in right here. It will be the LeBlanc. Now, the LeBlanc, very similar to the Ahri in the way that you want to play it. You want to push your lane out, go roam around and get involved on the rest of the map. Solo kills could happen in the mid lane, but it kind of takes a little bit of a misstep from either of these mid laners. Instead, it's very much going to be on these junglers to get involved if you actually want to see the kills here.
And that's roughly where we expect the 2v2s or the mid-jungle synergy. I like a lot the combo because you turn the charm into a guaranteed hit when you follow it up on top of the W from Pantheon. They follow a final pick for Bulldog, going to be so lacking a true tank. We could see that in the ball, but this is a comp that you can kind of look to one primary focus at the start of a fight, pick that one off, and then play with the numbers disadvantage.
Exactly, you've got a little bit of point and click if you want it, if you can get close enough with either your Renekton or your Volibear to just take somebody out, then play out the rest of the fight. Also, as Mike, you can just try to be getting aggressive onto as many of these Absolved champions as possible. Obviously, the Sivir, she's pretty immobile, pretty squishy. It's really only going to be the fact that she can stop you hitting one of the spells that perhaps saves her in this situation. I think it's very much going to be on Gibble to try to keep her as safe as possible. And overall, these compositions, they're pretty interesting in that I think both really want that pick first before you then play the rest of the team fight. The straight up 5v5 team fights, I think, are a little bit trickier to play out.
I think if clumped up, then I would focus. I would put a little bit more, I would favor Absolved a little bit more because you get to 2.5, 3 items Sivir just pressing W and throwing auto to the fight. That number's going to add up very, very quickly.
Yes.
And conversely, depending on the Varus build that we see, you're focused on, again, getting that burst of damage, which lends itself more to that get a pick and continue the snowball, which actually later in the game. Pantheon's really hard to kill. Greg killed Nautilus. So he's only going to get so tanky, but still
tricky.
You really want to be catching this Ahri or this Sivir, and they're not the easiest to get either.
No, it is very much just going to be this Sivir that's actually a relatively easy target to take down, but at any point, you're not really expecting Muta to be stood by himself, right? There should be multiple other people around. You really do need to protect the Sivir in this situation. I think the thing I like about Bulldog Academies composition here is that it can play around the early to mid game a little bit more effectively, just because the Sivir does take such a long time to ramp up, whereas the Varus, depending on what Varus it is going to be able to get there that little bit quicker. I think in this game, you're probably going to be wanting yourself that poke Varus. I think on hit would be a bit of a mistake. You'd have to step way too close to a Nautilus, to a Pantheon, to a Gragas. I mean, if you think you've got the fanciest feat and really trust Magpie on this Karma to keep you alive, there's a possibility, but I just don't think you need to. There's not really the tanks that you're having to shred through either. So with a poke Varus, you know, this composition should get online relatively early on, and we've seen that Bulldog, they can get themselves these early advantages. It's the mid to late game that's really been tripping them up.
And the question of pushes them beyond. Do we see Mike get ahead on the LeBlanc? Because I don't know if you recall, like, dig into those memory banks of the likes of Caps and Faker and whatnot, just causing utter chaos and nigh impossible to formulate a proper organized defense, because the LeBlanc is, oh, she was there 10 seconds ago, now she's blinking at me from this wall, oh, and she's also just one-shot my AD carry.
Yeah. So frustrating. Genuinely so frustrating to play into, and I think that LeBlanc's in a pretty nice spot. It's been interesting to see the way she's been rising up slowly, without too many specific buffs towards her. It's just been through items getting changed around a little bit, and also just the kind of champions that people have been picking. You're not really worried about what's going to happen to you in the mid lane with the LeBlanc. There's a lot of these just neutral lanes that you can either take over because they can't get away from you, think the Ahri, or you can just sort of ignore them and go play around the rest of the map.
Black Rose conspiracy theory for you. People just forgot LeBlanc existed.
Totally.
And then she showed up. And then she showed up being Mother in cinematics, and she got this glow up, and now everyone remembers her.
Hey, this is what keeps happening, right? You get a cinematic, or you get an arcane season, and suddenly they touch your champion for the first time in 6 years. They hadn't looked at Warwick. He hadn't had a buff or nerf in like 12 months. He pops up in Arcane, suddenly they touch him. They've changed the kit around. I think it's quite similar with the LeBlanc, where people remember, hey, she's fun. Although, if you're an ADC, she's not fun. And I think that's what we're really trying to highlight here. If you're Muta in this game, potentially she's seriously, desperately not fun to play against. It kind of depends on how far ahead you get, because, to be fair, a LeBlanc from behind does very little. It is a bit annoying, you know, maybe you have to worry about the chains a bit, but you know, there's not so many champions that you can burst down, that if you're not far enough ahead to burst out the two that are very squishy, you're going to be in a really tough spot here as Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to have a certain degree of confidence to pick the LeBlanc, because, as you say, Feast Famine is kind of her identity to an extent. Like, being really tricky, like, you can be annoying, but the difference between annoying and a game-ending terror is how strong you are come 15 minutes. Like, if you can get out to 15 minutes with a slight lead and, like, team coordinate, put resources into, you know, getting Mike further ahead, continue slaying to the point that, neither Muta or Emil can just outside of their field of vision without fearing for their lives, at which point Bulldog's in a good spot.
Absolutely. And I think something else I'd like to highlight about this composition from Bulldog is very specifically the Karma, because some of these Karma builds, where you put a little bit of extra AP in rather than just these heal and shield items, she does a shocking amount of damage, really annoying, gives you that extra level of poke alongside that Varus that's just super annoying in lane, but also annoying once you get to these team fights. But even beyond that, the amount of shielding that you can get through is absolutely insane, and when you've already got yourselves champions like the Renekton and the Volibear, the amount of shielding just available to Bulldog right here is massive. And Absolved, they're going to have to be very careful that they've got enough damage to be able to actually get through these team fights, especially if these team fights end up happening pretty quickly. You know, over time, as you were saying, right, the Sivir, the Ahri, you can land multiple rounds of your combos and you're in a decent spot, but if these team fights happen exceptionally quickly, and you've also just got a massive instant Karma shield that you have to burst through on top of the shield that you're getting through from your E anyway on the Volibear, it's going to be really tricky to actually be able to kill a couple of these members from Bulldog.
And that's why I was sort of looking down this comp, and could Muta or T-Time maybe sneak a Serpent's Fang in? It would be... I think if Muta could, that would be giving a lot of value. But I feel like you have to wait. You've got to wait until, what? At the very earliest third item, you need an X item plus IE. I think it's... Is it Essence Reaver she normally goes at the moment? But
I thought it was
I think it's third item at earliest. We might see a Serpent's Fang. And
I think you might need it in this game, especially depending on
possibly.
what it is that Magpie builds. Also depending on if there is going to be any AP built into the Volibear, so that changes how much of the shield you're going to get. If there is a little bit of AP between the two of these, I think you might have to, otherwise you're just not getting through that shielding. And the amount of healing you can also get through that R mantra as well, it's so frustrating to try to play against. I do think, though, we've got a lot of reasons why Bulldog's composition works. I do like it overall, but that's not to say that Absolved can't play this one out. The Gragas is always strong, always in a strong spot at the moment, and if you could play around that and get it quite far ahead...
Where's my meme?
Where...
Memes like, all right, Four Nations Gragases. Yep.
There's so many. I think
Let me introduce
UK
you to
players love it. Hey, if Dognappy is able to play up to that level right here with the Gragas, I mean, Bulldog, I'm sorry, but you just have to pack it in. That is genuinely one of the most disgusting Gragases we get to see. But it's not just him. I do really like the Pantheon at the moment, and if you can use it proactively, then I think it's one of the best junglers in the game. The thing that worries me slightly is that a lot of these teams at this level just don't use the Pantheon anywhere near as proactively as you have to. They're not ulting into lanes the second that they get it up. Even if you don't actually get anything beyond a flash from your ulti, you just have to keep spamming it. There's no point in keeping it in your back pocket. It's not going to be useful in these snap engage situations when you're already facing your opponents. You need to just be using it as proactively as possible, and alongside well roaming champions like the Nautilus, like the Gragas, and especially like the Ahri, you can just make these snap engages happen across the map.
It's kind of the Nocturne effect. You can almost say, like, first ult can be really telling as to at least fullness of the champion. I think Pantheon is more so than someone that can some pre-6 ganks, because like you can't really argue with a point-and-click stun at level 3. No. But you know, if you don't get anything, like no summoners, nothing off your first grand start, then you're feeling a bit silly, kind of wandering around in your jungle, waiting 2.5 minutes for it to come back up.
Exactly, and it is a long cooldown on it. It's the same with a lot of these heavy roaming champions with the global ultis. You need to make the most of it as early on as possible, otherwise it just really sucks, and it feels absolutely terrible to try to play. And Pantheon from behind just kind of sucks anyway, whereas Volibear, he's got some points where he spikes really hard. He spikes pretty hard at 1 and 2 items, and then again, once you can get yourself that full build, he's an absolute monster. Getting to level 16 with that champion is disgusting. At the same time, though, I think he's got a far more linear scaling progression. He's pretty good at the start of the game. He's pretty good at the end of the game, as long as he doesn't fall too far behind, whereas the Pantheon really hard spikes during the early game, and then falls off horribly if you don't manage to get yourself ahead. You've got the composition that you can get ahead through. As we were talking about, right, you don't necessarily really want to be ganking the bottom lane unless you've got some very easy to execute ganks, just because the Civ is quite weak in the early game. Ooh, they're going to stack us 5 early on. Interesting.
I mean, best of ones. Like, there was a theory crafted. Remember, this was years ago in StarCraft. They made a 1v1 King of the Hill tournament, so one loss meant you were out. And everyone was like, oh, this is going to suck, because everyone's just going to go for cheese build. And you know what actually happened?
Yeah.
Everyone played super standard, like their best StarCraft, because if one cheese build didn't work, then everyone was over.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a pretty brutal format right here as well, right? You really... really don't want to be losing out one of these games right here. Picking up all 3 of the wins in the single round robin is going to be incredibly important.
Going through from Bulldog Academy here. Bot laners will go to their respective places. The vision has been put down towards bot side by Absolve, but look at Sharp, Mike, and Tacos stood brush, waiting for his way out. It's after Faulty leaves on the Sky Splitter will fall through. Emil is going to be able to body block for his jungler, but that means now that time is wasted by T-Time going towards his bot size camps as Tacos free to start right up with those chickens, and this top side is basically uncontestable.
And this should turn into a little bit of vertical jungling right here, and I gotta be honest, I like that if I'm Bulldog. I've got the champion that can gank pretty much just as effectively, but I've got some lanes I actually want to be trying to gank towards up in this top side of the map. for Tacos, whereas down in this bottom side, yes, you're going to be getting pushed in, so there is the possibility of ganks down in the bottom side for Tea Time, but it's just nowhere near as effective just because you don't have that damage through the Sivir early on. We'll see if he can make it work, right? You are pushing very far forwards as the bot lane right here out of Bulldog. They have to recognize that they could potentially be under threat in a little while, you know, a couple of minutes, and then you've got that opportunity for the level 3 gank. For right now, though, they're just going to use that bit of early pressure, and then actually they're going to push up to get a little bit of early vision down, and now they're going to know the second that you step back into your jungle here as Tea Time. This is some interesting pathing from him.
So, he wasn't actually able to take the red buff.
No.
He is in a horrible spot right now, in fact. He couldn't stick around in the bot side jungle because of the pressure that was put down by Bloodlust and Magpie, aka Kakashi.
He's going to get one quadrant of the jungle, and his opponent's going to get the other 3. That's horrible for you right now. And we talk a lot, right, about Pantheon needing to get ahead, otherwise this champion feels pretty useless. We're not going to lose out on everything right now. The game is not over at this point, but you really don't want to be losing out onto these camps, especially not into a champion like the Volibear, who can do a lot of the things you want to do just as well.
He's also committed to an early Dark Seal. So, prophecies of a very aggressive playstyle coming out from this Volibear. It's going to be an early recall coming out from Muta and Gibble on that bot side for Absolved. They were able to push the wave in. Of course, the movement that Bloodlust and Magpie did meant that they are a little bit slower clearing those waves, and they may not have time to actually get a reset off.
No.
I say that, they're doing it now.
They're just going to push it through anyway, yeah. And going to be all good in this situation. I think the bot lane, if you could just go even, I think both of these bot lanes are going to be absolutely fine with that. You've got so much poke available to you between the Karma and the Varus that you can make it uncomfortable for Absolve. At the same time, though, you have to be careful. You don't want to step too far forwards, otherwise the Nautilus very much can punish you in this situation. For right now, though, the bot lanes, they're going to be doing their thing. It's much more interesting to watch what these junglers are up to, see where they want to head, because at least that early little bit of farming has very much come out in the favor of Reigning Tacos. But what can he do with it right now? You've not really got any camps available on the map. It's a little bit too early to have a dragon or the grubs to be able to go for, and to be honest, with all of his laners recalling, it's not so much you can actually play around.
Root gonna land down onto Gibble, but he's not actually the one taking the damage. It's Muta, who loses about a third of his health right now, but Tea Time making the moves as the flash straight on towards Bloodlust. You can commit with their own flashes the jump onto Kakashi, not quite able to get under the turret.
Oh no!
Boomerang blade bouncing through. The damage just isn't there. The heals, the shields, the barriers, everything committed by the Bulldog bot lane, and they will be able to weather the storm of attacks. Absolved, though, continue to look for pressure. Tea Time took a lot of damage from that tower, however, so gonna have to give up the Scuttle and potentially some camps.
I think the Drake. Yeah, you're going to lose out onto the Drake in this situation too, because as much as you did manage to get everything out of the bottom lane for Bulldog Academy, they managed to survive. They're all good in this situation.
Mike, I don't think I like your situation here, Emil, looking flash forced. They are well aware of the dragon being taken. I think Absolved, they don't need to be too concerned about it. First dragon, of course, it's not the best, but it's only a cloud going over. It will help with rotations a little bit. But you can just look to prioritize in a couple of minutes' time when those grubs spawn up and try and even up the objectives.
Not going to be the end of the world in this situation, but still, like you said, losing out onto the early Drake, not ideal, and it just is reflecting a bigger problem for Tea Time right now, that he's just getting out-jungled in the early game. The odd pathing that Tea Time was forced into because of the late invades, because of the 5-stack that Absolve went for, just hasn't helped him out in this early game. You can see he's down by a huge amount of CS right now, and Taco's going to head back to base once again, and you can see he is actually going to go towards a slightly, at least, AP-based build. It's going to get a bit aggressive. You can see also going to grab some boots too, so looking to move around the map that little bit faster. It is fun to see a Volibear just absolutely storming people down, and that's what we're expecting out of Tacos. And this is the change, right? This is what Bulldog went for. They thought, hey, we need to change something. We're going to put a little bit of extra priority into our jungle, bring in Tacos right here, and at least early on in this game, obviously we're only 7 minutes in, it's working out.
We're talking about a little bit of extra aggression. Well, this is pretty much the jack-of-all-trades Volibear build. Like, rushing for an early Cosmic Drive. You can follow it up, kind of however you like. I think the ones you normally go for are Sundered Sky for the second. No, Flicker Blades. Sorry, Flicker Blades is the go-to second item.
Sundered Sky would be real funny. You can also then easily, after you've got that early Cosmic, immediately transition out of the aggressive build and just start building yourself up towards being a little bit more of a tank. Oh, tea time. Oh, buddy.
And here's Mike.
Yeah.
First blood handed to whom? The LeBlanc. I mean, it does technically stop tacos from getting 2 stacks, but
true.
Yeah, no. Getting first blood onto the LeBlanc is it's a good look.
And this is, as we watch a little bit of a potential roam right here out of Emil, should be all fine right here for Bulldog, unless they step a little bit too far forwards. This is the champions of Division 2, right? This is DMG rebranded over to Absolved. They were able to pick themselves up a 3-0 versus Natives in those finals. You know, they were a great team during Division 2, and we were expecting these teams to be pretty close overall, right? The bottom end of Division 1, the top end of Division 2. Historically, they've not been too far apart, but at least so far in the early stages of this game, it's been pretty Bulldog favoured. We'll see if Absolved are going to be able to get themselves back into this one. It's just worrying when your early game-based jungler isn't having a good early game.
Oh, Dognappy tries to be a little bit cheeky there. Try and steal away the last of the Void Grubs with the Explosive Caft. He's not able to do it. And that is a full 3 set of grubs. So all early objectives off the back of that sneaky pathing that put Tea Time behind. And he's still recovering, still 20 CS down. Had to give up these objectives. Is level 6 now, but of course has been greatly delayed on any timing of using his ultimate as Mike takes a chunk. Will lose out on the mirror image. I'm wondering what Absolved's waiting for at this point.
Yes. That is legitimately what I was just thinking, is looking around the map, I'm like, right, what are you waiting for? Like, yes, 60 minutes in the future, your Sivir does a boatload of damage. But I don't know that you have 60 more minutes to wait for this Sivir to get online. In fact, I think you need to push the boat out a little bit in this bottom lane if you want any hope of really being able to get into this game. Because otherwise, yes, you're up by about 20 CS, but the Varus is going to be fine. There's a reason the Varus can still just be picked early on. It's such a stable champion. Even when you're behind in CS, like you are at this point for Bloodlust, he's still going to be able to do a decent enough amount during these team fights. Top lane, you've got a Gragas available to you. You really want to shut down a Renekton. Yes, Renekton's no longer the early game powerhouse that he used to be. He now has a much better time of it once you get into those laning phases. But what are you waiting for, right? The Drake coming up in 40 seconds time. Maybe that's a time to debut your champions as things that can actually play on the map. Because so far, it has been very passive out of Absolved.
Look at the lanes, though. As you say, like, yes, the Sivir is nearly 20 CS up. But like, Dognappy is also like nearly 20 CS up. Emil is 25, closing on 30 CS up against Mike.
Yeah. Oh boy.
It's going to take a chunk for his trouble. You can't just be walking into a brush like that.
No, absolutely not. And this is the other thing, right? As much as we can look at these CS leads and say, hey, these CS leads are what's keeping you even or even a little bit ahead when it comes to the gold. The champions you're up against just do hit really hard one-item power spikes, and even before then, still in a decent spot. Taco going to get jumped, though. Is he just dead?
They are going to commit hard for
he doesn't make it over the wall!
It doesn't get over the wall. Tea Time enacting some revenge on,
there you go.
on God.
Okay.
And now, yeah, I think Drake becomes a matter of not if, but when.
Yeah.
Muta pushes the wave in, going to try and back off now. Might take out the dragon being taken, but no smite means no hope.
And this is what we were highlighting during the draft phase. This composition, Sharpie should be fine here. Yeah, it's just going to have to pop the ulti, but should at least be able to take down this wave and step away if he wants to. This composition that Absolved have got for themselves, they really can just snap engage. So when we're asking, hey, what are you waiting for? The answer was a mistake.
They seem to have found it. Raining Tacos is the one who wants to enact revenge. Tea Time will flash out. The hook goes wide. I
think that's
it's
a good
actually
thing.
one of those ones that they need to be quite glad didn't hit.
Yep. The second that hook hits, Beanlord gets brought in, immediately dies in that situation. Definitely good that hook was gonna miss. This is the other thing, though, with the Cosmic Drive first on the volley bear, is that, yes, it gives you that extra little bit of movement, you do a little bit more damage, it's great, but it does delay how long it takes for you to be tanky in this situation, and you can see it right here. The second that Tacos just gets instantly jumped, takes huge chunks of damage right here, and has to be very careful about when he can go in. You really need to be able to get multiple of those W's off to have the healing come through, because you can't just rely on being tankier than your opponents in this situation.
No, and as you say, it is the win more option going for the Cosmic. This situation did not work out well, as he got a little overconfident, and Absolved, to their credit, do a great job punishing. Of course, top lane's been a bit quiet, but I do still want to point out that Dognappy, despite going for the rower build on Gragas, is doing a fantastic job of not just going even, nullifying this Renekton lane, but coming out of it in really good shape.
Exactly, you're up by a decent chunk of CS. I mean, there's multiple lanes right here where there's 20 CS gaps all around, and Dognappy, yeah, has had an absolutely fine time of it up in the top lane. And with this later game scaling build, that's exactly what you want. That being said, if he steps a little bit too far forwards right now, Taco's very much going to look to punish here. Yeah.
Thinking about it, the stun's going to come through. It will be stacked up very easily. Explosive Cask to make some space. Has Flash available as well if need be. Stormbringer is up with Bloodlust, however, is getting dove on the damage. Not quite enough to finish off, and the Ignite will tick down for the kill. Meanwhile, two more members roaming in towards the bot side. Tea Time and Emil will join the play. Feat of Warfare given across to the Pantheon. Despite the early disadvantage, despite falling 20 CS down, Tea Time has punished fantastically, and now is starting to come into his own. 2 kills, first completed item. This Pantheon, he's not just going to be bad frontline.
No, now you can do a little bit of extra damage as well, and this is just... Hang on. Step away.
By the way, the bot turret died.
Yes, yes.
That's just feats.
This is the thing. As much as Bulldog were often able to get themselves big early game advantages, and we saw, at least in the jungle, there was a decently big early game advantage, unfortunately for Bulldog, they just have...
Emil, not too happy that Mike decided to try and commit forwards there. Falls with the flash, the Foxfire will do its work. Now able to go back because the minion wave is there. Tacos, I think, was considering doing something, but Gibble was already out and about on the rift. Yeah. Emil will get out unharmed.
And now you're beginning to fall quite far behind. It was a really solid early game, but a couple of the CS gaps meant that Absolve were able to keep themselves even. And now with these first items coming through, you're in such a strong spot. Exactly.
How many times, Max?
So many times.
Regular season, did we say they had a great early game?
Yeah. This, I'll be honest, fell apart a little bit earlier on than they even usually saw. Usually they still have a strong first item stage of the game, and then it falls off once you get into the 2 to 3 point, whereas now, it's just as those first items were coming through that it begins to fall apart right here for Absolved. And it's going to make stepping up for these objectives really hard.
Tacos can just look to run forwards, though. It looks like Gibble, in fact, is just going to be the target. Herald has just spawned, and that pick will make it difficult for Absolved to contest this objective. In fact, it's pretty much just going to be Tacos left alone to do it. There is a bit of vision there, though, if Tea Time and Muta feel like they can walk in.
Which they might do, to be fair. I mean, you've got plenty of damage available to you, just not numbers. Oh, no.
And the Sky Splitter takes away the spell shield. Instead, Muta's just going to have to try and clear out the wave. Gets the shutdown given across to Sharpie, and Bulldog, it's a little bit of time committed. It's a dragon, it's a tower given up in mid lane, but they're still doing pretty well with the objective stacking. Of course, they did have to give up on the last dragon. I wonder if they're going to try and look for the trade. Tea Time is making his way over.
I mean, you can just head down towards the Drake right here, pick that one up for yourselves, put yourselves one before Soul Point. That is a decent spot to be in. Absolved, Bulldog, as much as it has been relatively even in terms of kills game, I mean, the gold gap is pretty huge. 2,000 early on right here for Absolved, and a ton of that is just coming through the CS gaps. I mean, look in the mid lane, right?
Yep.
That's nearly a 30 CS lead right here for Emil. Now, we know that Emil is a brilliant player, but still, to be able to get yourself that far ahead and still be useful across the rest of the map, right, has been roaming around decently, is a pretty good look. Now, has gone for the Malignants first. Now, that worries me a little bit that we're going to end up with a vegan Ari build. We'll have to see what the second item picked up is going to be.
I see a Dark Seal, which is a bit of a later pickup, but it's got 3 stacks on it, so
has potential.
I'm okay with it. I will accept it. As someone who has been in the server of One Nymera for a long time, he is the biggest proponent of being a hard carry Ari.
Yes. Yes, the Malignance isn't that. That's not the way that you start off being a hard carry Ari. This is a little bit more for the defensive side of it. As long as it's not going to be the Malignant straight into Zhonya's, that's the single most egregious build.
See, so Malignant Zhonya's I like in a specific situation, and that is when you're playing to be the engage yourself, which in this composition there is no reason for Ari to go that build.
Zero, absolutely none. And believe me, the time that I saw it, there was no reason then either.
1.5 item blighting jewel.
So it is.
Please tell me going like void staff at this point in the game is not correct.
Shouldn't be. We'll see if it works out, though. I mean, there's no real magic resist that you're trying to cut through.
Exactly.
I can't see it. I'm not entirely sure what the play there would be, but we'll obviously have to wait and see. We've got 3.5 minutes until the Drake is coming through, and yeah, on the opposite side, I mean, the immediate Storm Surge build, interesting enough. We'll see how that one is going to play out too.
I'm just saying, if you squint your eyes and sort of colour filter it to purple, Storm Surge reminds me an awful lot of Deathfire Grasp.
True. I'm not sure I'd prefer that though.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, absolutely. Do not take this as a RIP DFG post. Like, it went for good reason.
Yeah.
If you never experienced a full AP Scion back in the day, going Deathfire Grasp Q and one-shotting you, this is, by the way, back at the time when his Q was an AP scaling point-and-click stun that could one-shot you.
Yeah, no fun. No fun whatsoever.
Yes. You will not be missed, Deathfire Grasp.
No.
But yeah, Storm Surge, it's a bit of a... It's like the... But if you close your eyes meme.
Yeah. Close enough. I mean, to be fair, when we're talking about items, right, that's not going to be 2 items completed right here on the bronze. Like, he's in a really strong spot, which is a little bit surprising, right? We were not expecting to see this Sivir get quite this much of a lead, but the CS has just been flowing. Another 30 CS gap that we can see down there, on top of the 30 CS gap that we can see in the mid lane as well. It's just been a really good farming game so far for Absolve, and they've been using that to then bully out around these objectives. Right now they've got themselves the fast track on towards this Atakan, although Herald just going to pop randomly in the base right here of Bulldog. Have to imagine that that one has timed out, so that does give Bulldog a couple different avenues to potentially play through. Do they want to play through the mid lane, maybe get this Herald a charge off? You've also got a push in the top.
Bye.
Bye.
Magpie is already gone. Bloodlust is being chased forwards. Emil is aware of the situation. The Charm not quite able to find the way forwards. Mike looking for the angle in. I think Emil was the target he was looking for, but they're able to play it patient enough. One more Orb of Deception will do it. Mike is then going to have to jump forward.
Charm!
The flash Charm, no! Will find it, and no amount of smoke and mirrors will keep Mike standing. The push forwards from Absolved. They've turned it on, and they have started toppling these boulders. Sharpie has been left alone for a little while in topside. He's been able to claw back that gold deficit, that CS deficit, but the rest of the map,
yeah, it's falling to pieces right here for Bulldog, and it's really unfortunate to see that's now the second volley ulti of 2 that we've actually been able to watch that has been used defensively to try to run away. was able to get away in this situation, but not the same for a lot of his friends. And as much as, yes, Sharpie was able to get himself a couple of free uncontested waves of CS in the top lane, he was only just by the end of that play able to push far enough forwards to do any damage to the top lane tower, wasn't able to pick himself up a tier 2, so he hasn't really been able to put himself into that much of a carry spot right now either. Now, there is potentially going to be a little bit of a collapse here onto Dognappy, but you are looking at a Gragas, does have Flash available too.
Got a barrel to use as well. He's not taking all that much damage right now. The body slam, however, not going forward for stun. For a second, I thought it might not land. The shutdown will come through, but he made them work for it.
Yeah, he chased them quite far back, and remember, there is going to be a Drake down in the bottom side of the map as well, so Absolve can go pick that up for themselves as well if they want it at the moment. It is just going to be the full collapse up onto the top side out of Bulldog. Potentially just going to look for the tower and the kills.
Mike TP'd and is not in a fun situation right now, trying to step away. The bodies just are not there, and the Storm Surge will do its work. Gibble having to run away as the tier 3 turret in top lane is now being threatened. Muta is making his way up also, but the damage is coming through. Mike can step forwards and really commit for this. The LeBlanc not surviving all that long, though. The jump forwards towards Magpie. Gibble is able to survive for a little while. The follow is coming through. However, Muta presses W, and that's all you need out of a 2.5 item Sivir. The TP coming forwards. Dognappy wants to punish. It is going to actually be the damage of Gibble that secures that final kill. That was a bright spark moment for Bulldog, but just as swiftly snuffed.
And this is the thing right now. Bulldog are absolutely winning on the map when they can make these snap engage plays on the side lane, pick themselves up a kill in a 5v1, 4v1 situation, then grab a tower. Because of all the gold they're able to grab from that tier 2 top lane and then the tier 3, they've only got a little bit of a deficit at the moment. It's still about 3,000, not too bad, hasn't really been expanding beyond when they first lost control of the gold. But at the same time, as soon as it turns from PvE into PvP, that's where Absolve's composition is just coming online fully, and you can see it right here. Young Tao, and then you've also got the Eye Edge and the Flicker Blades. Yeah, I mean, this Sivir does a ton of damage.
Right now, Muta already getting the push on towards mid lane. The stun, the charm, straight onto Bloodlust. Magpie has to flash away. This tier 2 is bang to rights. Remember, this is before Baron even spawns. It's not like Absolved can just go and take that one. Instead, they are going to knock on an inhibitor turret of their very own, and they're going to say, we'll do you one better. We'll take the inhibitor to boot. Tacos looking towards the side, but trying to do a disconnect and engage feels not the wisest, as Absolved will make their way out.
And they're making the right decisions right here. Don't want to step too far forwards and give it a ton of kills back over. Instead, you can move back out through the jungle, take away a lot of these camps, and then also set yourself up pretty well for this Baron, spawning in 20 seconds time. They don't even necessarily need to start it up right now. You really want to just wait. Allow the members of Bulldog to step up to you because you win these fights.
And T-Time jumping on towards Sharpie. Takes about half of his health before the rest of the team can step forwards. And look at all of the damage that they didn't do to the Pantheon. The chase down will come through. Sharpie will make them work as the healing is tough to get through. But look at the CC. Look at the damage. T-Time will join the play with the Grand Starfall. Double kill for Muta. 6-1 and 6. Feeling a bit devilish with it as a little wave will trickle its way in. I'm not sure that they'll be able to use that to secure the end of the game. With long death timers and a wave coming in. No, Mike destroys it. Mike in mid lane is stopping the wave.
Yeah, this is really nice right here. Stop the wave from coming through. So Bloodlust was able to just take down the wave as well. The tiny little one that wandered on into the base. So at least Bulldog are going to be able to survive for a little bit longer in this game. But Absolve, they're going to have a ton of money in their back pockets to be able to go back, spend, come back out onto the map even stronger than they already were. And now we can potentially see a little bit of a dance around the Baron. And you've got to think that is going to be massively favouring Absolve right now. They have been in control of pretty much all of these team fights. It's going to be on Bulldog to pull a miracle out at this point. And I think, honestly, it's got to start with Faulty one-tapping this Sivir. If you're not able to just immediately take this Sivir down, and she's allowed to just sit and hit, the damage is just so ridiculous. There's almost no way to win these team fights.
3.5 items already in pocket as Absolved are going to look to close their way in. Magpie not able to get out of the river in time. Dognappy can be able to pick that one up, and the chase will continue. Emil trying to follow up, but will get rooted up by the chain of corruption. Bloodlust is low, though. The flash forwards from Dognappy will secure it. The Stormbringer trying to get Tacos out, but the follow-up is too much. Tea Time throw the spear over the wall. Also, it's only Sharpie left alive. He might be able to get this turret down, but he's got to get back. His base is going to be falling to pieces. There's still 10 seconds at least before Magpie comes back up. Absolved, looking to push in, push this one, end the game in swift fashion. The Nexus turret's already being knocked on. Sharpie will come out. He will hit the Dominus. He will try and make that space. Gachi also coming forward, good, but it's not good enough. Not in the face of this 3.5 item Sivir. Able to just press W, hold down right click with a little TP onto the fountain from Dognappy. Will make their first step towards potential promotion to Division 1.
And Will, Brackish, stop me when you heard this before. The first 7 minutes of the game were pretty good for both. We have been saying this. I think everybody on the Four Nations broadcast has said that sentence before. Hey, it looked pretty good at the start, you know? It was decent for the first couple of minutes. And it really sucks, right? Because Taco, this new player that they brought in, again, was able to get a pretty good CSC just through some clever pathing.
Creative early game.
Exactly. Using the laners as well, push them forwards in the bottom lane and then pull them back to get a little bit of vision. Go, oh, hey, he's actually started somewhere else. We can go potentially find him, force your opponent back into their own jungle. The early stages of the game look really good, and we were wondering, you know, what are you waiting for? What are you thinking about for Absolve? Why haven't you decided to pull the trigger yet with your Pantheon? But the answer was just they were waiting for a couple of these big objectives to pop up so that they could play around them, and they're waiting for mistakes to come from Bulldog. And hey, if there's another thing we've said a lot about Bulldog throughout the entirety of this split, it's that they make mistakes. And unfortunately, it was just a couple moments where people stepped a little bit too far forwards. You put 1-2 kills worth of gold into the back pockets of a couple of key members right here. And unfortunately, that's going to be another loss here for the Bulldog Academy roster.
Of course, the game. Of course, for those of you who haven't been told in the matter, the format for today, best of 1 round-robin matches between the 3 potentially promoting teams. That will be to determine seeding. So the top 2 seeded teams will play against each other on Thursday. Winner will promote. And then the last team will play of that series for that remaining spot on Saturday. So this is, you know, a 1 in the column there for Absolve. Their first game under their new name is a dub. And we will see if they do up against Natives, which is, funnily enough, our very next game break.
take our bombs, we'll make amends here. Where they bring death, we must remain. Relive the pain and turn it on down. 'Cause we must live up to our name. To those who intend on our end, we refuse to let you have the final say. Try once, try twice, rebuild this world. We'll take our bombs, we'll make amends here. Where they bring death, we must remain. Relive the pain and turn it on down. 'Cause we must live up to our name. Strike once, we can't let go. Strike twice, rebuild this We'll take our bombs, we'll make amends here. Where they bring death, we must remain. Relive the pain and turn it on down. 'Cause we must live up to our
Welcome back, everybody. Ahead of the second game of tonight, we've already seen Max. We've already seen Absolve GG play. They have got their win, so let's, we'll circle back to them because I'm more interested about Natives Academy, who will be our third remaining team in this promotion situation. Of course, a name that's been around the scene forever, and again. This is a situation for me that I'm not actually as familiar with the players.
No, neither am I. I mean, in terms of looking at pretty much all of these players, I'm not sure I've seen very many of them play at all so far. So this is going to be interesting to see, what they can do. And actually, we're going to be jumping straight on into draft right
I like
here.
it.
Let's
No
go.
gaps. So, we see some bands come through. Hey, look, the Pantheon's gone. Hey, look, the Gragas is gone. The Azir taken away from Emil. Natives, of course, will have seen that previous game, so they get that little extra bit of scouting. Aurora, Shen, and we're looking for a final ban out here. It's worth pointing out that Dorbany, the Native Academy top laner, is a prolific Gangplank player.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, picking that one up, it would be a little bit risky, right? As much as you can dominate your lanes if you're a very strong Gangplank, the champion isn't necessarily in the best competitive spot at the moment, but if you're just better than your opponents, there's always
Tell that to
the
Kia.
opportunity. Hey, true.
My man pulled it out MSI.
It was fun. It was fun to watch. The theory going to be locked in. That was something that was taken off of the board at the very early stages in the previous game by Bulldog. They banned that out in the first round, so clearly teams are not wanting to give it over to Tea Time right here. Instead, just going to pick this one up. And as much as that previous game was a matchup between, you know, a Division 1 team and a Division 2 team, these two, they've played each other before. They played each other in the grand finals. Absolved as DMG were able to pick that one up, so they know each other quite well. Misfortune going to be locked in right here. Actually, very surprising to me to see a Misfortune locked this early on. This champion needs a lot of setup around it, which obviously you don't have, and now you're pretty telegraphed to your opponents what you're going to be picking up. And even beyond that, the Neferi is a great champion into the Misfortune. She's squishy, immobile, and likes to stand still. Exactly what you want as a Neferi to just go get him.
The Lilia is the follow-up pick for Tea Time here, which also feels like a champion that, unless she's at, you know, Mach 4 constantly, max stacked on the Blooming Blows, that Neferi shouldn't have the hardest time moving around, just because it's going to be hard to land a little thing like that. Just press untargetable. Continue landing your damage.
It is going to be the Senna picked up right here, though, and the Senna is in a really interesting spot where the early game it's miserable. You really don't enjoy playing out the actual laning phase as you would expect from these late game scaling champions, but she does scale up actually pretty quickly in the current meta and starts just doming people at about 25 minutes, which really isn't too bad. You can usually get there decently, especially when you've got yourself an early game focused jungler that can really get aggressive. I like the Ambessa pickup right here as well. It's pretty good into the majority of things. You can pick up Blind right here. The Renekton is oftentimes picked into it. It's a decent matchup for the Renekton, but you can still totally play this one out as Dalbany as long as you play it, you know, a little bit carefully. You're not necessarily going to be looking for solo kills, but you shouldn't get solo killed either. And you just need lanes really to be able to play around right here for Shy. Otherwise, you know, you don't want to be really looking down in the bot lane too much.
No, and the Senna, of course, came back, was super on vogue after drop rate got increased.
Oh, yeah.
Then it got tapped down again. We haven't seen it as much. As you say, I think maybe that 25-minute breakpoint is delayed a bit on the 100 stacks, but it's still a Senna. It's still a champion that, when she hits 100 stacks,
It's so annoying.
Founding to deal with is auto-attacking you from way beyond your reach.
Absolutely. At the same time, though, Absolve, they've been able to pick themselves a backline access champion in the Renekton. Really can work during these big team fights. And the Lilia, as much as you don't have anything specific to get you into the backline, if she's running really fast, like you said, if it's going to be one of those sprinting around Lilias that you see, you can just run into the backline and then make it really uncomfortable for the Senna to be able to pick up. We can see the Braum and the Zyra taken off of the board, as well as the Poppy. I think the Poppy's a great takeaway right here. It could work pretty dang well into your composition. A lot of dashes already unlocked at this point. For natives, they need something strong to be able to pair up alongside the Senna, and there's actually quite a lot of options at the moment.
So the interesting thing, we see the Zyra ban. That's not targeted.
No.
That's actually a Shy special. I'm wondering if Absolved saw an angle where you bet we're going to put Neferi mid and have a Zyra jungle and have huge AD damage on both our solo laners. Combine that with the Zyra in between to add a bit of AP damage, add a bit of extra CC. But that will be taken away in quite a savvy fashion. Emil, hey, I mentioned it in game one. If you're not going to give him the Azir, then Victor is something he can fall back onto quite nicely. You know, it is another backline. Beth and Victor can sort of buddy a little bit of, you know, each was the other. Someone wants to get on well, you've got to walk over a gravity field and deal with an arcane storm. You want to try and go for the Victor? Well, you're going to be going over Make It Rain, and bullet time can go over your head if you commit too hard.
Yeah, exactly. It can make it just pretty tricky to actually be able to play out. We'll have to see, obviously, what the full play is going to be. Alistair going to be locked in right here. You can only really pick that one up once you know your opponents aren't going to grab themselves the Silas, obviously. And with the Victor locked in, you know that one is going to be the
5-star support. Come on, Gibble.
We've
seen crazier things out of him before.
That would be fun. That would be really good fun. Obviously, we're not particularly going to be expecting that one to come through. I like the Syndra in this situation. It's a pretty easy matchup into the Victor. You don't really have to worry too much about what's happening in your laning phase, and you do just have so much damage, and the Scatter the Weak can be brilliant to try to deal with champions who want to sprint at you, like the Renekton and the Lilia, and also if you can snipe away at that squishy MF, well, that's a very easy kill to be able to pick up. Gibble once again going to be playing this Karma. It worked out for him pretty well in the previous game, so we'll see what he can do this time around.
Gibble was not the Karma.
Oh, sorry.
The Karma
other
was
side.
on.
My bad.
Right.
It's
Yes.
too warm. It's too warm.
It is. It is. At least you've on now.
That's so true. It's so much better.
But yeah, so Gibble taking a bit of into opponents in game number 1. This is a composition from Nature's Academy that can far more easily build the likes of a Serpent's Fang. Like, Shai can pick it up pretty much whenever he wants, I think, in the and you're going to be pretty happy with it. Especially since I'm going to assume that we see from the MF, you're getting shielding on the naturally. The Renekton build... Does Renekton still go Eclipse at the moment?
You can do, certainly, if you just want to play a little bit extra aggressive. It gives you a little bit of the extra survivability as well. I think into the Ambessa as well, I like that as the build path.
Which means that I think maybe a third item Serpent's Fang, like lob it onto, you could potentially even get it on the Senna if you really wanted to avoid it on the Neferi. And I think that item would be a really nice pickup. Hey, look, shields, guys. Get shields item.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know I'm on a, what is this at this point? 7-month-long rally against the misfortune at this point in my life. But unfortunately, it feels like it's going to continue right here. As much as Absolved have proven themselves to be the better team between these two, their most recent matchup goes 3-0 over to Absolved for them picking up the Division 2 title. This composition really isn't the sort of composition I think about when I see a misfortune, because you just have a little bit of a lack of overall setup to try to get people stopped in one place. It's going to make hitting that ulti really tricky.
Where's the Leona? Where's the press one button that allows bullet time to shred everybody?
Exactly. At the same time, it's just a harder way of going about it in this situation. You know, if everybody just steps into the gravity well for a second here, stop right here, that would potentially work. If the Lilia can hit a multi-man sleep, then that's a potential way of doing it. Otherwise, I think it's a lot more likely that you're just going to be hitting this bullet time onto a couple of people or a couple of non-stunned people once you're in amongst a big team fight. The thing is, though, you just are really strong in this individual 2v2 up against this Alistar and Senna, so you can potentially just try to bully out in your individual laning phase, and yeah, maybe you can't get these massive bullet times off, but the Misfortune still does deal a lot of damage, and you're not really in a situation where it's just the Misfortune you're relying on for your damage. Absolved has got damage all across the board.
Oh, 100%. And, I'm more willing after game 1 to not question bronze picks, because the Sivir on paper was okay.
Yeah.
And then we got into the game and it was, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. We got into the game and all of a sudden he was tearing people's heads off, had 3 items way earlier than we were expecting from this Sivir. So we'll see what you can do right here as natives. Can they have as good of an early game as we saw in the previous round from Bulldog? And then can they translate that into mid to late game wins? Because hey, Neferi, we saw it all the way through this 4-nation split, specifically on Karina, just styling on people with the dog champ. So much damage available to you, so much survivability as well, and it's not like it's just going to be the Neferi going leaping into the backline right here. The Alistar more than happy to come with you, as is the Ambessa, and those 3 together can be a real threat onto slightly more immobile champions like the Victor, like the Misfortune.
I'm wondering also if there's some... if you haven't been around the esports space, there's this particular YouTube short released by Jamada recently about how good Unsealed Spellbook is. And, well, I like Spellbook, but kind of forgot it existed. I am a prolific Victor player, and I put the two together. And depending on the matchup, if you're not scrambling for early prio, then I actually really like Spellbook on Victor. It gives you access to a whole bunch of extra buttons to press. Oh, look, a Neferi's jumping on me. Press Exhaust.
Yep.
Oh, look, I've just been caught by a Senna root or a Syndra stun. Cleanse.
Yep.
Make it, that level of versatility, you are giving up a little bit of early game pressure, losing some damage from the Aerie for your early lane trades. But if you are going to just index and say, it's fine, I'm going to farm up to the point where I've got all my upgrades, I have 2 items, maybe I get an assist or 2 from some skirmishes, it's all good. And then at that specific point in the game, those other keystones fail in comparison. Now, it's not been the case. Emil has gone for the more tried and true Aerie, which I think in this lane against point is the correct choice, because despite outranging Victor slightly, he still has an incredibly strong level 1, because the shield he gets on the power siphon is... It cannot be understated.
And it should just give you that little bit extra to potentially try to play around, specifically in the laning phase, like you said. And there's always situations where somebody's about to get away with a sliver of HP and the Ahri goes...
Every time.
And helps you out. Yeah, this is what we want. Oh, it unpaused! Boo. I was hoping for that full Mukau Alistair right front on look. I think Mukau Alistair is the best skin in the game. I'm really sad I don't have it.
It's good fun. I can't remember if I have it. I might have opened it from a chest at some point, but I don't play Alistair, so...
Even then, I think if I had the skin, I'd play more Alistair, to be honest.
Unfortunately for you, so Alistair jungle doesn't work. I've tried it.
I've tried it.
It's awful.
Okay, last thing we'll say on this before we actually talk about this game. I used to play it with Rageblade in the jungle. Anyway, talking about this game now. Early
way back when, yes, but current in the year 2025, it is not a thing you can do.
Awful, disgusting. Yeah, please don't do that. Much better to be playing these slightly more standard pickups in the jungle. Speaking of, like the Neferi. In the previous game, we talked a lot about early game junglers, right? Because the Volibear can very much be an early game jungler, and so can the Pantheon. But in this situation, the Lilia very much would rather just sit in the jungle and power farm until level 6. You obviously can't always do that. It's not very easy to just ignore your lanes, might get forced out of the jungle. But the Neferi is a little bit weak when it comes to the ganks pre-level 6. Post-level 6 is going to be a lot stronger, so we might actually see these junglers kind of leave their lanes alone until we hit that level 6, which can be pretty interesting in this top lane and in this bottom lane specifically, depending on how aggressive these laners want to play it out.
Well, Gibble already stepping forwards. We saw an early pickup of the headbutt on the Alistair, so going to try and be disruptive, but, well, it's safe to say that the Senna is not having the happiest time of things at the level 1, which is to be expected.
No. The Senna is easily one of the weakest laners we've seen. I mean, I've seen it picked quite a lot recently when there's been a Smolder in the game, as both of these are going to be weak early on, but the Senna actually manages to be even weaker in the laning phase than the Smolder. You have to be very,
less
very
base health than Sona.
Yeah, it's super miserable to try to play it, especially when you pair it alongside an Alistair who's not even a champion at level 1. There's really nothing you can do. You're pretty much always going to get pushed in early on. Now that you've got the level 2 here for Oct, you're going to be in a slightly stronger position. You can at least step up a bit, but this is pretty much how we're expecting this laning phase to go. Between the Misfortune and the Karma, there's so much poke that you're going to be able to lay down. It's really going to take jungle intervention in this bottom lane, or a massive mistake out of the Absolve bottom lane, for this to get any easier to play out early on. All you're really looking to do right here as Native's bot lane is get through this early laning phase, get to the point where you've got those 100 stacks or so, and then you can start ripping people's heads off.
At this point, both junglers, they're about neck and neck in their clear. So I don't think anyone is going to be able to get to bot lane outwardly more swiftly than the other. Gibble took a bit of damage for his trouble. They're trying to get the wave shoved in, and I expect maybe a cheeky little early recall out from this bot side. We see that Shy could potentially look for a way forwards, but I mean, the trample stun just not coming through. And the Mantras route.
And it's just great warding right here out of Absolve's bot lane. They're immediately going to spot out onto Shy, who's now kind of just stuck in the pit. Now, Tea Time has to be careful. In this individual 1v1, you really do not win it. I'm going to have to bring members over. Beanlord is going to arrive. That's just going to make things a little bit easier. Going to be able to just step away. Right here is Shy. Head up towards the top side of the map, and it shouldn't be a double scuttle for anybody in this situation. But that was another thing that you got to see. Another reason why the Neferi can be a pretty fun pickup into the Lilia. We often think about Lilia as one of the fastest clearing junglers in the game, and absolutely she is. But at the same time, the Neferi no slouch either, and Eva was actually able to do that full clear a little bit quicker than Tea Time was able to for this first clear.
Did indeed get towards bot lane a lot faster now. Shy making his way top. Dog Nappy not going to flash at the very last moment. The dog does not do the damage though. The bleed was not applied by the Neferi. The healing.
2 flashes.
Dog Nappy will be able to get out okay. Oct now getting rooted up. The heal was burned. Holds on to the flash for the time being. In fact, now Bronze is the one taking a lot of damage. The level 4 will actually be the thing that turns the Senna back around.
And that's so much trading.
And nothing really happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of aggression. Shy actually just going to catch out Tea Time, trying to steal away camps in the jungle. Tea Time, I think they're just dead. Yep. There's going to be the first blood right there for Talbany, and that's really bad right here from Tea Time. Hadn't been able to actually, there was just not an opportunity there. I don't know how else to say that, right? He's stepping up in this situation.
While his top laner had burnt flash and basically only just got back to lane with teleport.
Yeah. There's no situation for you to be able to go in. You're pretty much always going to get attacked right there by the top laner, and the collapse is going to come through, and Natives, they're able to do what we were talking about, right? Get this composition into a good spot early on. Beanlord also going to have to flash right here in the bottom lane, so...
He's not having any of that,
hang on.
Ochi. No flash, no heal left. One more center auto will do the trick.
Nice.
And, yeah. It's the Cowsec.
Let's see, though. Can Tea Time get involved right here? Misses the bowling ball.
A little bit, but we are going to see what happened towards... Tea Time walked in onto Shy. And, well, that call was made. Wait.
This is just,
so Tea Time walks into Shy.
Tea Time knows
this fight
is
went
happening.
long then, because it took all of that time for Dobany to get out of top lane and contest.
But you never win this as Tea Time, right? You don't win this 1v1, even slightly. So I'm not entirely sure what the expectation was in this situation. The Neferi is stronger in the 1v1, and it's just going to keep being stronger. And yeah, that's the kill, right?
That is the end of the kill.
Bit of an odd one early on, but still, it does mean that Natives have been able to play themselves a decent early game, exactly what we saw previously. But can they hold on to this one, right? Unlike Bulldog were in the previous game. They're up by about 1,000 gold at this point.
That's a level 6 Neferi.
Yeah, I mean, very strong.
Careful, the Control Ward.
The Control Ward may well just save them in this situation. Still, though, the dive potential is always going to be there, especially once you can hit that level 6. Still going to be a little ways away for it for the Natives bot lane, but that is going to open up the Drake with the bot lane pressure, with the mid lane pressure that you can see right now. Natives is going to find them very easy to pick up this early game Ocean Drake even. And I got to be honest, early Ocean really is helpful in this game. You want these laning phases to go a little bit longer because you're in a decent spot for them right now. You're actually making it work even in this bot lane that was potentially going to be a bit tricky, and it really does help in this Ambessa versus Renekton matchup to just have that little bit of extra sustain.
Does mean that Tea Time is going to have a little bit of a leg up on the most recent jungle clear. We see already on his red buff will be finishing that up pretty quickly, but as you rightly say, Natives having the better of things at this early stage. This is, however, like we saw it in game 1, Absolved playing it kind of more controlled, more calm, just wait for the opportunities to present themselves. Tea Time is going to look to start off the grubs here, so maybe forcing things to happen a little bit. I mean, if you can smite it and step away before Shy makes his way into the river, then perhaps you're in a decent spot.
Just don't think you're going to be able to step up in this situation right now. I mean, just going to have that little bit of earlier roam. Actually, Final Grub not going to be taken right here from Tea Time. Doesn't want to reveal himself potentially. Instead, Just throws the bowling ball straight down mid, so actually not going to be too concerned about that one. Is able to grab 2 for the team, leaving the last one up and available for Shy to potentially grab. Don't know if he's going to want to head on towards that one right now. And we do get the level 6s through for the bottom lanes right now. Finally, you're going to be in a spot where you can actually step up a little bit right here as this native's bot lane. You can see the pressure is still going to be on them. They still do need to be pretty respectful of the damage you can get between Bronze and Beanlord. But at least with that unstoppable for the Alistair, you're just going to be in a little bit of a stronger spot. You're less likely to get one-tapped in this situation.
Dognappy not having a happy time of things. Dalbany, of course, was the beneficiary of the first blood and now basically has full push. Like, there is not all that much the Renekton can do in the damage stakes. He's even indexed heavily into armor and is still taking a real chunk whenever this ambassador decides to walk forwards.
It looks... hang on, bot lane.
Tea time is here. Flashes are not... a flash is available, sorry, for the Senna. Uses it, though, just as the Lilia ultimate comes through, the Lilting Lullaby, and that immediately causes the bullet time damage to cancel it out.
Yeah, also
now Shy's coming
in. Yeah, Shy is in the area, potentially hunting right here, and I mean, you are very strong at the moment as a Lilia, even just with that longsword and serrated dirk, you're still going to deal a decent amount. Yes?
Am I insane? I'm trying to remember if MF Ultimate actually breaks the Lilia sleep. I think somewhere deep in my, like, the sub-recesses of my brain, I was like, hold on a second. I don't think that's how that works.
No. I'm actually not sure. You know what? You
I
found
think
a
maybe
knowledge
the
gap right
initial
there.
wave of damage does, but staying in the AoE, I think, does not.
Something worth testing. Can have a eye out for it as we go on through this game. Because it would be annoying, right? The second you pop the
If I'm wrong, then well.
Wandering straight out. Yeah, we'll see. We will
Surprise
see.
to nobody.
Shy will be able to pick up that final grub right here and just continue on his way. We aren't seeing quite as many of these monumental CS gaps, at least across the top side of the map, but I mean, bottom lane, right? It's pretty rough at this point, obviously. You are getting pushed out very, very heavily right here. Moo really hasn't been able to step up, and Bronze has been having a pretty free laning phase so far. Still, that is going to be the static already completed, so Moo at least is going to deal a decent little bit of damage if you've got enough time to just sit and auto-attack for a while. Not necessarily something you're really going to be hoping to allow right here for Absolved. Next Drake going to be in a minute 30, and that's something I think both of these teams are potentially going to want to play around. That you've got all of those level 6 available. Tea time, is he caught here?
Shy is looking for a way in. There is the ultimate comes in. Look who is there, point as well. Catch on towards the Karma. Speed out with the Mantra Inspire, though, like natives, will be to chase through, but both summoners burnt off of the Karma. Minute until the next dragon comes up, which means it's going to be harder for Absolve to step into the play.
If you don't have the ability to really step up and buy yourself a little bit of extra space, it makes playing a lot of these champions for Absolve so much trickier, right? Both your Victor and your Misfortune need a little bit of space to be able to step into, otherwise they just cannot play the game. As bot lanes go back to fighting once again, bullet time going to be used just to get a bit of extra damage onto Moo. Not going to be able to pick up the kill, but still Bronze happy to keep stepping up, and you can see the damage is just landing here again and again, and this isn't even that first item completed. Whoop. Whilst we're watching in the bottom lane though, that's going to be a solo kill here for Point. Manages to pick up a kill onto Emil.
Well, seems pretty accurate. Point and click with the unleashed power will secure the kill onto Emil as Shy is going hunting, perhaps, in the opposing jungle. No. Instead, decides that Bambi isn't close.
Not quite going to be able to step up for that one. The Drake is now going to spawn, and you've got some full resets coming through from both of these teams. Critically, that is now going to be the Bloodthirster completed onto the Misfortune. So we have a look back at what we missed, and yeah, like you said, we'll step up, deal a bit of damage, press the ulti button. Get out.
Whole bunch of Dark Spheres on the ground.
Yeah, outplay button activated, and that's just going to be a nice kill. Blackfire
It's not going to get any better either.
No, this matchup, as much as it can be pretty even in the lane, as soon as you let one of those kills go, it can be a bit rough. Oct gonna jump straight in right here and actually buys a ton of space for his team. Drake about half.
The challenge is, though, that we now see the Mbessa and Senna trying to get in from the opposite side. Shy now trying to find the angle to the damage, will get the steal. The Drowsy comes through, and the kill will be secured by Emil. Oct trying to make space from Dalbany. Will find tea time. Bronze is stuck in the pit. Dalbany trying to do the damage. He's going to flash all. There's an attempt to get to safety. He's still putting the damage down, though. Unleash power again finds the back of Emil as he turns to trying to chase, but Dalbany is going to be just too tough to catch. The bot lane makes their way out. So I would say heist for the natives. They get their second Drake. They pick a pretty even trading kills, and they are the ones with still the lion's share of the pressure.
Absolutely, and also think about where these kills have gone down to in this situation, right? You're going to be able to pick one up onto your Ambessa, you're able to pick up another one right here onto your Syndra, just puts you in a decent spot. I was pretty worried right here for Shy when he had to use the the E that early on. You know, that's your main survivability tool, but it means that he's able to get into the pit and steal away that objective, and then that was a really nice public execution to just be able to pick up that initial kill. It's unfortunate for Dalbany that he's not actually able to chase Bronze down in this situation, but with 4 people jumping onto him, there's just nothing he could really do. Point. It's nice and easy, right? You press the ult, he steps up a little bit too far and is caught out, but not the end of the world in this situation. And getting away with even kills and the Drake, very much going to be good here for natives. They were able to pick up the win versus Absolve during the group stage of Division 2. They obviously weren't able to pick up the wins when it really counted during the playoffs, but this team, they have been good. They've shown that they can really compete, and at least so far, 50 minutes into this game, they've been good. Moo, should be fine. Yeah, just flashes away. Does lose out onto a pretty critical summoner spell, though.
And both summoners got, in fact, as Shy on the opposite side, looking to start up the Rift Herald. Shelly would be a continuing clean sweep on objectives for natives in the early stages of the game. Of course, Absolved still looking towards the sort of 2-item power spike. Bronze, we've already seen, is doing a good chunk of damage and has already completed Bloodthirster, has a pickaxe to boot. So, going to start really hurting as long as the likes of Shy and Dalbany don't have an easy way to access him in the backline.
Being said, it is pretty tricky to actually stop an Ambessa or an Ethereal from just being able to step into your backline. It's almost impossible to stop them in that situation. Whether or not they survive the attempt and pick up the kill, that's really the question, but whether or not they're actually going to be able to get on top of Bronze, if they decide they're going in, well, there's not really anything you can do to stop that dead in its tracks right here for Absolve. You don't have yourselves a Scatter the Weak to really just push people away or anything like that. They don't have a ton of anti-engage tools. It's very much just going to be about your own counter-engage and getting into the backline, making Moo and Point uncomfortable, stopping them from being able to sit and do the damage. They're going to be very interesting team fights to watch as we get further on into this game. Now got 2 minutes until the next Drake is going to be available. It will be sole Point if natives can grab it for themselves.
Still a little while away, though. Dalbany continuing to aggress towards the top side. Dognappy having now completed the first item, Sundered Sky this time around. So playing more for the team fights, looking to get autos onto different members, keep that health topped up as the fights go longer. Point.
Oh, Point,
Might not be at a good point. He's going to try and flash away. The chase down I don't think is there. In fact, it will get completely abandoned as Shy and Oct make their way towards the mid.
Still, you've now lost half of your HP. That's going to allow some real mid-push to come through right here out of Zolves. They've got some good pressure on the map at the moment. Unfortunately, objectives still a little while away. Aren't really able to step up and get any vision down for themselves either. I mean, looking at the vision, right, you've got a little bit of deep vision in your bottom lane jungle for your opponents, but beyond that, not really too much vision of the actual pit. We'll see how that's going to affect onto these team fights. Some recalls come through. Second item's not really available for anybody at the moment, though. It's just going to be first and some components for the most part.
Yeah, first item completed by literally everyone in the game, though, at this stage.
Yep.
So, one item and change definitely still feels very much in Native's favor. I'm still waiting for a second item from Emil. I'm still waiting for a second item from Bronze to really feel like Absolved should be comfortable to try turning the corner. That said, they are technically still up in gold right now.
Small advantage for them at the moment. Only about 500 gold. Natives have done a really good job of being able to just keep themselves toe-to-toe. They haven't necessarily had all of the CS fall in their favour, but they've been able to pick themselves up plenty of kills, push forwards for a couple of the plates as well. I mean, it's that bot lane tower going over that's going to be the real gap in gold at the moment. And we'll see now. Drake is going to be up and available. All of the ultis are available too, so where's the go?
Look who's being focused up. It's Emil. The heal keeps him alive, though. He's not going to fall. The TP coming out from Dognappy. They're going to try and chase this one forwards. However, natives have walked this one out. Dalbany will join towards the mid lane. Top laners, at least, are going to be fully healthy. And in fact, they're going to drop down Shelly towards the mid to help with pushing. Gibble taking a chunk for his trouble. Oct jumping forward to try and make that damage happen. You need to actually hit your Dominus, my guy. He just about does it. But he has lost so much health for his trouble. Yeah. They're now going to get Shelly in with the charge. They won't completely destroy the turret, but their own damage should do the trick. Dalbany still looking for an angle towards the backline. And in the meantime, Shy has actually moved down into the river. Not yet started up the dragon, however, because this Neferi is pretty low. Just to try and control the vision for now, because Absolved, they're not all that healthy themselves.
No, I mean, now you've used a lot of your engage tool, a lot of your ultis already. Dalbany, you can see, continually jumping forwards, trying to find a way into this fight, but these longer, more extended fights are a little bit risky. Point, once again, jumping forwards, one of the few people who does actually still have that ulti up and available. The thing is, you get that initial massive burst of damage down onto Emil, who has to head back to base, doesn't have a teleport to be able to rejoin, so that's the window right there for natives to be able to step up. They're now going to have to try for another pick again before they can really start up this Drake. Potentially found it, though. Dognappy takes a huge chunk.
You're thinking about it. Point gets chunked out. They're not going to overcommit, though. Lilting Lullaby was, in fact, on cooldown, so they couldn't use it. That does mean that options, in fact, for the side of Absolved are very limited. The ultimates are, in fact, pretty much all in Native's favor, and I think Absolved feel that. They are still trying to put the damage down. Shy is a little ways away. Dalbany looking for a potential flank angle, and I think shouldn't be too hard to find it, as Dognappy able to survive for a moment, but Dalbany is doing disgusting things towards the backline. Double kill picked up. Dognappy somehow surviving throughout all of this, will eventually get taken down by Point. And Shy, in the meantime, had gone to heal up, had gone back to the Drake, pick that one up, and oh, would you look at that, it's nearly 21 minutes. That's going to be an Atakan to boot as well. Natives, they are taking this game somewhat personally after losing out in the Div 2 finals.
And watch this flank right here from Dalbany, right? Steps up. Everybody sees him, but nobody decides to go try actually fight this Ambessa. They feel like they can't, for good reason, right? The Ambessa's in a pretty strong spot at the moment, going to be able to pick up these kills, but this is a flank without having an ulti available. There's no public execution to really get into the backline. That's straight up walking at people with presence. Only one item completed at that point. Now is going to have that second item completed, and Dalbany is taking up so much space in these team fights. It's making it almost impossible right here for Absolve to really be able to play these ones out, because you're constantly having to run away from this Ambessa.
Trojan Cyclo Sword picked up for this Noxian Matriarch. And, well, yeah, looking to stamp her authority on this game. We can see level lead over Dognappy. This game, Emil not having that great of a time. It turns out that when a Syndra can press R and do 700, 800 damage to you at the literal click of a button, that your positioning has to be
'tis rough,
basically on point, or you are going to suffer.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? When you have a look at what's happened here in the bottom lane, you can go, oh, look, I'm up by 70 CS. Cool.
But it's a Senna.
It's a Senna who's getting stats from stacks, is still got more than enough gold because of that, and also was able to absorb a decent amount of turret plating and just deal a good amount of damage, and just has been a part of a ton of these kills as well.
Lullaby
now potentially getting hunted.
Being called. T-Time trying to get the damage through. Will be able to blast it with the Lookout Eep. Oct just going to hit the Unbreakable Will. And
hey, Will, we got an answer.
Out.
Lullaby?
Yeah.
Not cancelled. Not
There
cancelled.
we are.
By the bullet time, so that combo does work. This is what we were talking about right during the draft phase, where it's a combo that's not quite as easy to execute
job, Brain.
as alongside the Rel and things like that, but it is still something that can work out, and you have to be very careful. We were just praising the way that this has been played out by Moo. The Senna has looked pretty decent and does a decent amount of damage, but You have to be careful. Talking of careful, though, Dalbany is going to potentially get collapsed upon right here by 3 people.
No flash.
No.
Public execution is going to find dead
Whiff.
air as they kill the shutdown given across 2 bronze. Remember, last game, it was the Sivir who was putting so much damage over the top of these fights. This MF, 239 CS. Yes, that is their first kill. But they are already at 2 items. They are well on their way towards a 3rd. They could be the difference maker. Emil, if his job then is merely protecting bronze, then that's something you can do. The Arcane Storm Gravity Field is going to command a lot of respect.
And we've now seen a couple of different plays right here where Absolve are showing the way that they have to get back into this game. It's through picks. It's through being able to find people out of position and just quick snap engage. Yes, their composition looks like it should be all about these straight up 5v5 team fights. They've got a couple of big ultis for those plays. But once you're behind, it's all about finding good ways to get yourself back into the game. And actually, they've been able to put themselves back into a gold lead right here. About 1,000 gold for Absolve. Second item completed on a couple of these key carries as well. So just in a decent spot right now. We have been seeing, though, people running around the map long enough that we're now just a minute 20 seconds away from the next Drake spawning. And this will be Soul for natives if they can grab it.
A Mountain Soul as well, which would be frankly terrifying.
Yes.
I don't think I want to deal with a Dalbany in that state. Shields on top of shields, on top of resists, on top of mobility, on top of... Oh dear God, how do you kill that champion?
Yes, at some point you're just... At some point you can't, right? We did see, you know, if you collapse fully onto the Ambessa, it is pretty tricky to land that public execution just out of nowhere, right? It's a pretty thin hitbox. You see it often paired up alongside things like the Pantheon because, well, once you've got a point and click stun down, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to be able to just grab somebody with the public execution and play out the rest of the team fight. But that's not necessarily where Dalbany's going to be playing this one the most, right? You're very much looking for the flanks. You're looking to get involved into these team fights, not straight up from the front, but instead making your opposition uncomfortable, because as much as you getting kills specifically is good, and this Ambessa does have a lot of damage available, the more important thing you can do during these team fights is stop a Victor and stop a Misfortune from being able to sit and deal the damage that they need to do. The rest of your team can get the kills.
They can. We are going to sit in we will appreciate this moment.
Yes.
In silence before we speed back into the gameplay, but quite importantly, as you say, 1 minute 11 seconds on what would be a Mountain Soul Drake for Natives Academy.
Yep. And
it would,
20
I
seconds
have to
on top
imagine
of
it would be
Baron.
cathartic for them.
Yes. That's very much going to be something they would like to pick up for themselves. And it has very much been these straight up 5v5 team fights where natives have been in a great spot. It's been on the picks where Absolve have actually been able to fight their way back into this game. You can see they're setting up a good vision line right now. Reset potentially going to come through right here for Dalbany. I'd be surprised if he's got too much to really be able to buy, but you can come out onto the map nice and quickly with that teleport available. It's just going to head up towards the top side of the map, so we'll be looking to drain any players towards the Drake straight up through these teleports. Doesn't really have any flank wards to look at either, though.
2.5 items on point, very close to completing a Void Staff. Stepping forward into this Syndra is no small ask. The damage is being dodged quite well, but it really does take one Scatter of the Week to land to be the go button for natives. They continue, as it stands at least, to step on backwards. Tea time. Taking a bit of damage for his trouble.
Yeah, but you're going to lose a top lane tower for it.
Yeah, 4v5 as it stands at least.
Oh!
As the Arcane Storm is used. Ox trying to go very far forwards. Now they pull Dalbany in. The dragon has been started up, but the top lane tower should just die to the minions. There it goes. Emil forces Shy to use that untargetable. Absolved.
Tea time.
They're looking for the angle in. There is the Lilting Lullaby, but Bronze is not in a position to use bullet time just yet. Public execution finds the backside, but it's only the Karma that is actually hit. Flashes are being burnt back and forth. The damage is there. Bronze trying to fire off the bullet time in the face of Dalbany. Dognappy going to be able to do some good damage. Tea Time, who has survived throughout all of this, is still persisting. Dognappy going to try and chase point off the roll point. It would be a great win to Absolved. If they can delay this soul, Dognappy still looking, point still lurking for the angle. Is back up as point, will find Beanford, will find Gibble. However, will give across his own life for that kill and take a while, but this Drake should be picked up by the side of Absolved.
Now this is going to be an odd one, right? But the person you want to be watching during this team fight is Beanlord. Look at the size of the shields and the heals coming through. People surviving in this situation is because Beanlord wills it so. There's multiple times, right, where you're just getting jumped and Beanlord says, no, you get to survive right here. Look at this. Massive shield. There's going to be another massive shield in a second here too when Dognappy takes a ton of damage. It's just constant, and the extra speed ups as well. Beanlord doing really well for his team, just keeping them alive. And point, I'm not really sure that it's worth it. Yes, you get to get a kill onto Beanlord, and that's important, but Beanlord's somebody you need to kill at the start of these team fights, not at the end of them to close things out. It's not going to be worth to trade mid lane for support. And this is brilliant right here that you're able to, as Absolve, pick yourself up this team fight and stop that soul from going over. Natives with that mountain soul, as we were highlighting before the pause, would have been so incredibly tricky to kill.
Now they have 4 minutes of breathing room. Bronze is still the character I look at. 3 items now completed. Mortal Reminder is there, so healing options are going to be reduced significantly. And still, Absolved hold the goal lead. Just shy of 2,000 right now.
Yeah, got themselves in a good spot. And it's also worth quickly revisiting what this game means. Because there's 3 teams, and this is a single round robin for the seeding, Absolve winning this one would put them at the top of the standings, right? They will have 2 wins, everybody else will have 1 loss, and it will just be about who between Bulldog and Natives are able to pick themselves up wins, gets that top seed. Whereas if Natives pick it up, then all of a sudden they can get themselves that top seed, and that just gives you the extra opportunities, right, to be able to get yourself into those final games.
That's what you were saying about the public execution.
Yeah, it's hard to land. It really is when it's just you and nobody else. It's surprisingly tricky to land. The hitbox really is thin.
Yeah, I mean, you were trying to literally hit it off purely vibes. Beanford, though.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's,
there you go. That's your go.
Bean has been lauded. Shy, trying to survive, will be able to go untargetable for a second there. The damage from the bullet time, not quite enough, but Oct will be the target that is found. Moo trying to put the damage down, but Bronze can stand in the face of just about anything. Emil catches onto Shy, but not able to interrupt the back.
That was close. That was really close. If you get that kill right there, well, that's an instant, hey, let's go for Baron. And I'm surprised that Natives aren't able to pick themselves up that win. You know, it's a good interrupt onto the bullet time out of Oct, and you managed to pick yourself up that immediate kill onto Beanlord, who was the big problem in the previous team fight, but they're just a little bit split out. Dalbany is not there at the beginning of the fight, and without the ult, he doesn't have a quick way to get into the backline, and it's just good kiting right there out of Absolve to be able to step back and make what could have been a really bad play a pretty good one for them overall.
And still the struggle continues. These are team fights that really can go either way. Individuals can make all of the difference in every single one of these fights. Albany still looking to fight this one out. I mean, Shy is nearby. It seems like Dognappy is going to be somewhat left out in the lurk. Yeah. Public execution will land over the top. The healing is good, but it will not be enough.
Yeah.
In spite of the reduction dropped by Beanlord.
Stare sundered. I mean, yeah, you got a lot of healing available to you alongside just what Renekton does in the first place, but it's going to go down, and now you've got yourself a decent bit of map pressure that you can now try to play around. You can see over on the bot side of the map, Point is going to push forwards. Isn't necessarily going to stick around to try to take this tier 2 tower. Could do, though. You know, nobody's really responding, and you've still got 20 seconds until you've got this Renekton in the area. At least taking a decent chunk out of this tier 2 tower would be huge. You can see reset going to come through out of tea time. And yeah, I like this push right here. Just force somebody to potentially respond towards the bottom line.
Yeah, I think pretty much as soon as Point saw that not every member of Absolved was on Vision, was like, alright, that's fine. We can step back. We can meet back up with my teammates. Octon Point looking for a potential angle forwards. Tea time does not get caught, but that's a lot of damage going forwards. Goes golden to avoid the damage of the Neferi. As Maniferi has to go untargetable to avoid the damage out from Bronze and the bullet time.
Yeah.
And, oh look! Posturing. 20 seconds until Dragon.
Yep, there's a dragon up. Again, it feels like we've been constantly fighting around these for good reason, though natives, they still really do want to pick themselves up this Mountain Soul. And you're also getting to the point, right, where the center is going to begin hurting. Haven't had a little bit of a stat check in a while. Will be interesting to see what Moo is sat on at the moment. For right now, though, they are just going to have this control around the river, and it's going to be on Absolve to step up and find their angle in.
Oh, it goes in.
Yeah.
2-man on the knock-up. Dognappy going straight towards the backside, though. Bronze has removed Ock. Dalbany does not have the support he needs. Bronze does go down, but Dognappy is now the one just absorbing all of the pressure. Point is removed. And Moo on the run. Beanlord trying to chase. It's Emil who will try and make this come through. I mean, there's basically nowhere for the center to go. Instead, Absolved seem to be resolved to continue their quest.
Yep.
Next Drake denied. The game will extend another 5 minutes.
Hey, Will. Can you imagine a 4 Mountain Drake, Mountain Soul on top of Dognappy right now? On top of Tea Time? I mean, trying to play that's miserable at that point in the game, right? We were talking about, hey, maybe you want the Serpent's Fang. Well, one has been completed here, right here, onto Shy, but you might need a couple more. We'll have a look back at this one, and I think it's just the wrong decision out of Oct. Yes, he gets a multi-man knock-up, but you're not actually able to get a ton of your damage dealers in onto the main ball of champions at the beginning of that play. And Point and Moo, yes, they're able to grab themselves 1 kill, but all of a sudden their front line evaporates away from them. I think, unfortunately, in this situation, the front line just isn't tanky enough right now for the Natives members to really play, whereas Dognappy's got a ton of healing available to him, and once again, Beanlord and those dang shields are just so difficult to play against.
Emil, gotta be careful. Avoids the stun from Point. Oct moving up, however, will be able to make his way out to safety. Of course, the Baron is going to be the thing that everyone is looking at. Bronze, gotta be careful. 4 items now complete. In fact, oh no, shield. See, there's different version of shield bone. I remember a version which didn't have crit. This one does though, so that's an 100% crit MF.
Yeah. And you're just wrecking everything that your opponents want to do as soon as you put that bullet time down, right? The healing's cut in half immediately, and then the rest of your team members can play out the rest of this team fight. I really like the way that Absolved have played this one out. Once again, it seems like they don't necessarily want to super play around the early stages of the game, but once they get online, they just go. Another fight right here. Ox jumps in again.
They're looking for the angle on towards Emil, but he's doing just fine. Dalbany has found some alone time with Bronze, but look at all of the damage do. Dognappy joining in towards the play. That was a 4v5 that Absolved basically just took on the chin.
Yeah, they were absolutely fine. I mean, Dognappy instantly pressured the TP, but I'm sure if it was a little bit of a slower channel, he wouldn't have even bothered at that point, right? It wasn't really needed. Now, as Absolved, you get to push up, get yourself a little bit of extra vision, and they can pull back on towards this Baron. TP gonna come in from Natives. Dalbany.
Like, how are you getting out from this, though? Where's the rest of your team? Flash is over the wall. Dognappy to rejoin with his squad. Tea Time will take some damage off of Point. That's some burst, though.
Oh!
There is the public execution over the top. Emil has been fouled. Dalbany is too tanky to deal with. Apparently was not there. The main damage dealer was not there. Now Shy looks for the jump. And I don't think that's going to go well for you, though. The MF trying to channel forwards. The flash from Shy will get him out and away. It is only Bronze alive from the side of Absolved, and it will be a case. Natives will be able to secure the Baron, their first objective, in just over 15 minutes.
Dalbany with the Chad teleport into bad position, flash out immediately, and win team fight for your guys. Absolutely love to see it. Bronze now stuck between a rock and a hard place. Oct gonna go in.
Yeah.
Bronze is gonna try get something back. Very unlikely in this 4v1, and is indeed gonna go down. That's the full ace picked up right here by Natives. They're gonna be able to grab the Baron as well. And as much as things have been looking better and better for Absolved, one good fight is all it takes. Here it is. Here's the Chad move. Teleport,
I refuse
insta-flash.
to call that one good fight. That was... I don't know what to call that. That was...
It's Bronze getting caught on the wrong
moment.
side of a fight, And then Dalbany finding an awesome ulti, and that's the thing, right? You have to find that ulti right here as Dalbany. We've seen the team fights where natives have actually been able to win. It's all on the back of this Ambessa finding these massive moments. Was also able to pick up that kill on the back end on top of the Renekton. And yes, the fight starts out where you've got Bronze in the area, but he isn't able to actually step up. All of his front line evaporates in front of him, and the Misfortune, as much as you do a ton of damage, needs that support around her. Now with the Baron buff up and available, it's going to be on natives to keep the pace of the game up, try to crack open the base of Absolve right now. They've got 40 seconds until they can go play this dance around the Drake once again.
They are going to knock down an inhibitor, which of course will make Absolve's decision that much harder as they look to step forwards. 30 seconds until that will spawn up. Beanlord back up in 5. There'll be an empty jungle filled with native wards to clear before they can even think about getting into the river here, and that might just be too long.
Yeah, I mean, if you're having to step through as much vision and as much just pressure as natives has right now, it's going to take a while. Pretty risky for them. You can see just constant bowling balls being put down by Tea Time, trying to find that big ulti to potentially stop opponents in their tracks. Natives, though, they're going to be able to turn around and turn straight onto the Drake right here, and Tea Time is just sort of sat in the mid lane. Yep, there's absolutely nothing you can do. It takes a couple, but finally, 10 minutes after it was first available to them, natives, they're going to be able to pick up this Mountain Soul, and they're now in a great spot to be able to find one more big fight and win this game.
Tea Time trying to make space will go golden as Dognappy takes
point,
up
though.
the responsibility of being up front. Point was off to the side. Emil has to flash away. Bronze has been jumped on. Dalbany looking to find the backline, has gone onto the killing spree as Point finds the damage to finish off Bronze. Tea Time trying to run this one out. The Chaos Storm over the top is what does a lot of the work. Move.
Oh, Point does so much damage.
The carries are able to space it oh so well. Beanlord, you cannot be there. You are a Karma that does no damage at all. Tea Time trying to clear out the wave, but he's incredibly low for his own safety.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the
and
carry's pushing on the bot lane.
Yeah, I get why you've gone mid-wave to try to push this one through, stop there being a couple lanes to play through, but because of that and because of the length of the death timers right now, Point and Mood, they're going to have an easy enough time just picking themselves up the tier 3 tower in the bot lane and this inhibitor, and now you're going to have super minions pouring in through the mid and the bottom lane. It's going to make stepping up that much trickier. Natives, they are in firm control of this game, but these team fights, they are not clean, you know? There are a ton of people dying back and forth. The thing is, though, at some point, the center does way too much damage, and at this point, right now, 4 items complete with that 20 stack Medjai's, Point does so much damage. He could just nuke people straight off the map.
And has been.
Yeah.
Alongside Moo, who at this point is on 110 stacks, 4 items, and we've been talking about Bronze for so long, but I mean, this is Senna. This is Senna at her point of power, and is able to damage most of Absolved from a range at which they simply cannot answer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's making it so tricky to actually play these ones out, but we've said that before, and Absolved have found,
Tea Time
unfortunately...
tried to go forwards, immediately locked up, immediately ripped to shreds by the unleashed power. Beanlord trying to get back into the base. The slow will keep some space. Emil has to immediately go golden, but where are you going if that's the case? Bronze jumped on by Dalbany, and it will be vengeance for natives as they push on in to the Absolved base. They lost Division 2 playoffs 2-0. They will not do the same here. It is the ace. They are waiting for the wave to come forwards. But make no mistake, this game is done and dusted. Absolved will now wait to see what happens in the subsequent game. Natives, if they beat Bulldog Academy, will take the top spot. They will play against Absolved again on Thursday. The question is, what about Bulldog Academy?
Yeah.
Because if everyone goes 1-1-1,
exactly.
what the hell happens then?
Good question. I would love to have an answer for you. During the break, we will find out what the answer to that question is, because you're absolutely right, Will. That's the funny outcome. That's the single funniest outcome.
I always like the funny
available.
outcome, Max. You know.
Exactly. Everybody just goes 1-1-1. we don't know what happens at that point. We'll see what ends up going through with that one.
game
Obviously,
time.
right here as natives, you want to pick yourself up this win versus Bulldog, and the fact that you're able to beat out onto himself, who just beat Bulldog pretty comfortably overall, definitely going to make them the favourites going into this final matchup we've got today. For Bulldog, you really want to pick it up, otherwise you've gone 0-2 as the Division 1 team, and that's not a comfortable position to be in at all.
Yep, putting yourself in the lower spot, having to wait until Saturday to play against the loser of the Thursday match. We will find out, of course, very shortly how that will go. But first, another quick break. Take a time to stretch your legs. We'll be back for game number 3.
we're standing, basking in the light. No more we ever speak of tears of reckoning. No voice calling from the dark days of old. Was victorious. The memory remains, worlds falling away. Some tell me now the fortune of the realm. Call on us now to wipe out all the traitors. The earth trembled as we gathered ashore for the lands we swore to hold. For our kingdom glorious. Some tell me now the fortune of the realm. Call on us now to wipe out the traitors. The earth trembles as we gather ashore for the lands we swear to hold. For our kingdom
And we're back. The teams are way too excited to get into game number 3, so we're going to keep this intro short and sweet. Natives just beat out Absolved and go up against Bulldog's Academy. If they win, they are locked in and will lock Bulldog out, or at least they and Absolved will go to face each other in our match on Thursday, leaving Bulldog to face the loser on Saturday. We still haven't quite learned what happens if Bulldog win. That's a very interesting scenario.
Yeah, so, there's definitely something. Somebody knows the tiebreaker rules. It goes off seeding.
Oh boy. Okay. Production. Can we have confirmation of what seeding means? So would that mean Bulldog technically get the top seed?
That would be.
So if Bulldog win this, they okay.
Bulldog get that top seed. They get themselves that first opportunity to chill.
So after that game, can I just put yourselves in native shoes right now?
Yeah.
After the game you just won, if you flub this game against Bulldog, you get put into the Saturday match.
Yeah.
You just lose the lifeline despite the game you just played.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Bulldog, Gonna be pretty happy with that one. That's what you get for being a Division 1 team. You know, you are those defending champs right here. See if you can keep your spot up at the top. It looks like Misfortune actually being hovered first right here. Clearly something that Moo really likes to pick up. Gonna play it. Huh. First pick MF. Now I've seen a lot of MFs in my time, and first pick MF, that's not something you usually see.
Well, seems that Moo might have something in mind.
Yeah.
The Pantheon was left open, of course. Natives just prioritizing a couple of the Bulldog classics with the Urgot, with the Heimerdinger. Pantheon will indeed be locked in. Of course, Bulldog have the knowledge of the previous game, so Syndra's out, Neferi's out. That is entirely fair in my opinion, and they're going to drop the Mel for good measure as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no way in this situation that you really want to be playing against those champions again. Even though they weren't able to get themselves going that early on into the game, it still was, you know, the sort of draft where I can understand getting rid of a couple of these pieces. The Ahri potentially going to be picked up right here as well. Oh, Nico actually going to be the pivot. Now, we'll see if that is going to be a Nico going into the mid lane potentially, or if you want that to go down into the support role. It compares so well with these more aggressive bot laners. If you compare it up alongside something like the Kai'Sa, really good kill lane. If you compare it up alongside something like the Kalista, again, having that ulti to be able to pull the Nico out after going in with that ulti, or just fire her into the backline with the Pot Blossom, these are some really fun combos that you can potentially think about here as Bulldog.
Do we think the Bulldog are the kind of team that wants to pull out the likes of a Kalista, though? That is...
Not necessarily.
There is the challenge. Shy going in on the Nidalee, so potentially looking for some heavily AD solo laners.
Yeah.
Which, on top of the MF, would be potentially very potent, of course. Even if the Nidalee...
Top? What if it's Nidalee top?
It's
not Nidalee top.
Ah, the Shy, why do you do this to us? Wait, what? Is it? Is it actually? Hold up. Are you just a genius, Max? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
Oh, I'm dying. Oh, that's so funny. Oh my god, please.
So, I mean, I'm the other side of the fence on this one because, well, although this is something that I do,
yeah.
I am a Wukong top enjoyer.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, you could potentially put the Wukong... I think it depends on what your lane matchup is here, right? Is it a lane matchup where you can actually get aggressive with the Nidalee and find some solo kills and play it well? In that case, yeah, go play it. Otherwise, you can just put the Wukong into the top lane, and I feel like after watching a really solid, really competent Ambessa game out of Dalbany, I'd trust him right here on the Wukong. They're not super similar champions when you think about it, but they have a couple of the same ideas, and big flanks is definitely one of them.
Still throwing a respect band towards the Gangplank as well for Dalbany. So Bulldog taking no chances with this top laner. And I mean, after that last game, after some of the engages he found, sure, Point and Moo did a lot of damage, but a lot of times those key picks were being found with public executions.
Absolutely. You can see it's going to be the Shen banned away. Now, the Shen being taken off of the board, it's just decent into both of these pickups if you are potentially
it's also
still
a Sharpie.
thinking about
it's a
putting them
Sharpie
back
classic.
and forth. Yeah, Sharpie also very strong on this one. We have to see if the Graggy is once again going to be allowed through, because we've seen, right, Gragas can be a very strong
What am I
pickup.
missing here, Max? That's 2 top lane bans, although we have...
What we're missing is the potential situation where this is going to be a Misfortune Nidalee bot lane.
Surely Nidalee support doesn't work. Please tell me Nidalee support doesn't work.
It's not good. Like, I'm not saying this is good. I'm saying that that's a potential option. I think it might actually be a little bit stronger if you want to put the Wukong down there. That, or Bulldog have turned their screens off and aren't actually aware that they've already picked themselves up 2 champions that could go into the jungle or into the top lane potentially. See what the pickup is going to be. Nautilus is going to be grabbed right here, so it is going to be that last pick of the top lane. I can understand that, right? You want to have as much information as possible up towards the top side of the map for yourselves. You can also always put the Pantheon top lane if you want to just, hey, go for something crazy for yourselves. It's nowhere near as strong as it is in the jungle at the moment, but at least into the Nidalee, you can go toe-to-toe and potentially pick yourself up a couple of kills there. Natives they're looking to actually set themselves up around a misfortune in a way that their opponents were not able to in the previous game. The Rel really strong alongside it, the Wukong as well. You've already got a ton of different setup for it at the moment. For the mid lane right here, I mean, if you could pick yourself up something like the Orianna, that could be really strong as just a pairing to, again, pull people into just one ball in the middle and allow your MF to just, run through people.
And, like, that would be a Giga Wombo combo. But what am I witnessing? Max,
this is some certified
what is happening?
UKL Four Nations Division 2 stuff happening right here. I mean,
the poppy's been open.
Yeah.
The poppy's been open the entire draft.
Yeah. We saw that banned out in game number 1, and we called it out. It was like, that's real competent to ban away the poppy in this situation. Oh, come on, you can't not block the poppy here. It's so good.
They didn't lock the poppy, Max. 4 of 5 champions have dashes.
Yeah, but have you considered Renekton go burr? Okay.
Okay, hang on. So first mystery the first. What is going on?
Yeah.
What is this comp?
I think this might
Who's
also be mystery
where?
the second and third in this situation.
We at least know the bot lane.
You say
I'm going to assume it's Nidalee jungle because we have double ADs outside of it.
Okay. I'm gonna... You know what I'm gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna type to League Operations, hey, what go where? Please.
It's literally the draft's so crazy that even we can't pass what's going where.
It's Middley. Thank you very much to Mantle. Mantle says the words Middley. So it's gonna be the Wukong in the jungle, Camille in the top lane, and the mid Nidalee right here for point. So, how similar are champions like Syndra and Nidalee? Because I'd say, other than being AP and bursty, no, not even slightly in this situation. The laning phase is... okay into the Nico? I mean, you can poke her out pretty decently with the human form. You've got some decent all-in potential. Yeah, as long as you can dodge away from the root of the Nico, like that, it should be okay. But also, into a Nico and a Pantheon, like, you're really vulnerable to ganks right here. And if Magpie ever decides, hey, I want to go gank into the mid lane potentially, again, pretty dang vulnerable in this situation. So I'm not certain about this one. And also, I mean, it's worth saying again, right? We just highlighted it, but we'll do this again, right? Natives win. They get to play on Thursday, potentially promote themselves into the UKL Four Nations Division 1 straight up. 1 week, get yourself promoted. That's amazing for Natives. A team, a name that has been around for forever, right? It's really good to see them with an academy roster here playing. It would be so cool to see them in Division 1. They lose because it's based off of seeding. If everybody goes 1-1-1, they immediately get chucked down onto the Saturday matchup and don't even get to play on Thursday. They don't even get a chance to compete on this one. Like you said, off of that previous great game with what is an astoundingly competent composition in comparison to whatever this is on my screen. Oh.
I mean, clearly Natives Academy knows something we don't.
Clearly. We're about to be so wrong, and we're about to watch the single sickest Nidalee game that, like, anyone's ever seen. This is about to be like the shy top Nidalee levels of just styling on kids.
So,
okay.
At what point in the game
Yes.
does this composition want to play at? Are we still looking for the Giga Wombo? Like, put them in the Hextech Ultimatum, Bullet Time over the top, Cyclone? Yeah. Like, the Wombo is still good, but the question is then, why is there a Nidalee in that?
this may be a situation where you pick the Nidalee early on because you're like, hey, we can maybe put it top, we can maybe put it jungle. And then you see what your opponents are picking, you're like, that's actually really not good up into the top lane. Don't know if it can play there. Don't know if it's really going to be able to compete as effectively into the Pantheon. So, you know what? Let's try it mid lane. And Nidalee mid isn't completely out of the realms of possibility, right? We have seen it before. I'm not sure you have to think about it, though. I think you're more paying attention to the rest of the composition for when you want to play, and the Nidalee's just going to deal the damage that the Nidalee can do, right? If you get a couple of kills early on, potentially you gank early on. It's a bit of a weak gank pre-level 6 between the Nidalee and the Wukong, but maybe you can make it work. And if you can get a couple kills onto this champion, the burst damage is very much there. You can be a complete and utter nuisance, and it does give you a little bit of extra poke going into these team fights, which you kind of need. You do more damage with your spears than your opponent is with those Pantheon spears. So, you know, there's somewhere that you can potentially try to play around. But I also don't want to over-focus onto what natives are playing, because Bulldog, they've got themselves a far more normal composition. We obviously would have preferred the Poppy, but they've got themselves some places you can play around early on with the Renekton, with the Pantheon, and then you've also got that late game insurance through the Jinx, and you've also got the just brilliant combo between the Nidalee and between the Nico and anything else with the Pot Blossom.
Yep, and of course, we've seen it before. There's games that looked quite bleak being turned around by someone failing to cap minions, or just a good old classical red buff going on a wander.
Yeah. I mean, it's always good fun.
Could be everything for Bulldog Academy here.
Yeah, very much so.
My thesis statement for this game, though, is there enough lockdown on natives that there is not a point in the game where the Jinx just goes, okay,
yes,
and everything dies?
Yeah, this is my thinking, right? You need to play this one a little bit earlier on right here for natives, because the point at which you're in a good spot right here as the Jinx, you could just start running through people. You've got a ton of frontline ahead of you, and you also need to be pretty careful right here as as Moo, to not just chuck your ulti straight into somebody who's just going to be able to easily absorb it. Sharpie won't be too worried about it. Tacos can obviously just chuck up the shield and not worry about it too much either. So I'm very, very much thinking that natives need to play this one a little bit early on, or try to just stop Bloodlust from being able to stack up as he wants to and play through pressure around the bottom side of the map.
Well, all that remains to be seen. Tacos, a little bit careful there, buddy. As you lose nearly half your health to the attack speed of the Nidalee. That is something that champion can do. Everyone forgets about the attack speed steroid, I think, on her heal.
Yeah. I mean, it hurts. You know, the Nidalee, we're not laughing at it because it's necessarily going to be terrible in this game. It's going to falter in the same ways that a Nidalee in the top lane or the jungle does, where you fall behind, you don't really have the tools to be able to get ahead, and you don't have enough of CC for yourself, so you're very reliant on your team to play around you, and you are very squishy in these team fights. But at least in the laning phase, into the Nico right here, I wouldn't be massively worried about it. I wouldn't be thinking, oh yeah, you're just going to get pushed around and not be able to play whatsoever. I think it's going to be other lanes potentially where Bulldog can find themselves big advantages, especially if you can get involved right here from Tacos. We talked about it when we watched Bulldog in their previous game, that we needed him to be aggressive with those Pantheon ultis. Let's see if he can get it going in this one.
Oh, nice early trade from the bot lane of Native, in that this Northless is going to have to play just a little bit more careful. On point, having the easier time, it seems, of the early lane, of course, and just being able to walk that wave down, you can just do the trick when it comes to the early lanes and the early wave. Skirmishes as well that the Nidalee could look for. But plans level 2 has already come through, Moo, having to flash.
Okay.
That was merely for the low price of a hook and Kikachi's Ignite.
Yeah, you're going to be more than happy with that trade right here. And this is the other thing. The Miss Fortune usually has a very strong early laning phase, and it will, once you've got yourself a little bit of gold into your back pocket, have spent it on just a couple more items. When you're sat right here just on the Doran's Blade, you need a lot of setup from your support to really be able to just sit and hit and actually deal the damage, whereas the snap, a little bit of engage, and the CC chain that Bulldog will have available to them, if you can land a little bit of a stun into those traps, it's genuinely an oppressive bot lane. As much as you are thinking Jinx late game scaling, hyper carry in the later stages of the game, yes, true, but you still need to respect it during the early laning phase.
And Bloodlust is playing for max carry potential in this game, it seems, because no defensive summoner to speak of. Flash Ghost. Wants to space, wants to kite, wants to chase down if fights start going the way of Bulldog Academy. Of course, a fantastic insurance policy for them. Remember, despite losing their first game, if Bulldog win, they take the top seed.
Yeah. It's so important for Bulldog to pick this win up because you don't want to be relegated down to playing on the Saturday. You get yourself one series in which to prove, hey, we still deserve to be in that Division 1 of the UKL. Bulldog... Oh, hang on, bot lane. Kakachi, okay.
Flash in. They're just looking for it. Barrier's already been burnt, but Mu is not surviving this.
Nope.
First blood is handed right across to Bloodlust. There's an ignite on Oct, but he'd have to turn around to try it and go for it.
Oh, the hook!
Lands. They're feeling it. One more will do it. Kakachi will sacrifice his life, but it is a worthwhile cost as it's 2 early kills onto the Jinx.
Yeah, this is what we were saying, right? I absolutely... Point. Come on. Good heal.
No.
Should be able to...
The heal exists. Flash out, Mike. Able to play this one through. One more auto would do it. He's trying to chase. Has to flash also.
Wow.
At this point.
And,
And, well, perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Absolutely. This is what we were talking about from the mid lane, right? Where it can be pretty explosive. Let's have a look in the bot lane and watch specifically about these Flame Chompers right here from Bloodlust. I just love the way that Kakashi flashes in, gets the stun up, and it just means there's more than enough time for those Flame Chompers to activate. There's really nowhere you can go. Flashless at this point in the game, immediately going to go down. And like you said, Kakashi going to be more than happy to just trade his life over for giving those 2 kills to the Jinx. The Jinx now going to be in a really strong spot, and this is not what you want as a Misfortune. Misfortune wants to be able to bully out a little bit onto the lane. You need to be in a strong spot where you could just pop the ulti, stand there, deal the damage. This is a composition for natives where you can set up this Misfortune for success, but the Misfortune has to be in a strong enough position to be able to pay that back.
Not going to be there just yet. As Bulldog Academy are the ones to come out to an early advantage. So, if Bulldog hold on to their lead, is there a point where... Is there a point of no return, effectively, for natives? Whereas, like, you just do not scale well enough. Dalbany gets level 6, or rather doesn't get level 6, as Sharpie does, and will take a chunk of damage for his trouble, drop below half.
I think it depends on how the frontliners are doing right here, because Bloodlust obviously is having a great time of it early on, but, you know, if Sharpie's not tanky enough to be able to buy a little bit of space, if Tacos is far behind and can't really get back into it, then not going to be so easy. At least this bot lane, you know, they're going to be absolutely fine. You can see the BF sword.
Ghost's been used. Flame Chompers land. One zap does not find its mark. Sharpie.
Oh, Sharpie's got it.
Down. Level 6 has been found there. He gets it just in time. They're going for the dive. Mu has already fallen. Bloodlust was not tanking the tower. It was Kakachi who was doing that. Shy is coming in, but there is nothing left to save. He is able to trade it in for Kakachi. Tacos able to survive. Volty does not have the flash to follow up. Oh!
There's no burn. He's fine. He's going to be able to walk this one out. Still, that should be enough damage done to Tacos that it should be the turn around onto the Drake. Although saying that, actually, Tacos is potentially still looking at this one. No, he's just going to step away. Correct decision in this situation. Instead, we're just going to watch these mid laners duke it out a little bit, and now we're going to have a replay of what happened in the bot lane. And I can tell you what happened in the bot lane. Bloodlust walks at his opponents, right? This is the thing. Once you've got yourself the BF sword already, you can just step up. The hook's landing. I thought that hook was going to land onto Mu, I'll be honest, but it doesn't really matter. Bloodlust is still going to be able to pick up that initial kill. The next one does go down to the Ignite, so it's not exactly going to be the 2 kills you would have wanted, but still 3-0-1 right here onto the Jinx. More than happy with this one, and good reaction right there from Tacos to be able to get the shield up quickly enough. Is going to be able to walk this one out as well, and unfortunately right here for natives, they're just not able to get anything back in this situation.
I refuse to believe that Tacos was at any health other than 1 after that spear.
I mean, it's got to be single digits, right? He is so low. But But, Will. Bulldog Academy have got a lead.
They have. We've heard this before.
Yeah, how often do they pay leads off?
Right now, they are 1,000 gold ahead.
Yeah.
They have had to concede the first dragon, though,
Yep.
which is being traded out. Tacos, looking to start out the... Oh no, he's not doing the grubs yet. He is just going to take the scuttler instead.
Yeah. Now
But
turns
I mean-
around to start the grubbies.
It's an easy enough pickup. That said, he is very much without support right now, so
Yeah.
if Shy was to walk into the river, it would be natives who have the far easier time of supporting him.
Absolutely. I mean, you're doing the right thing in this situation as Bulldog of rotating your bot lane up towards the top side of the map to give support around these grubs, but you would usually like to do that first before you start them up, just to give you that little bit of extra support. Still, it's not going to matter. Natives aren't going to recognize that this one is happening or don't feel comfortable to be able to step up, and it is now just going to be this little bit of trade. You can see the bot lanes are going to both rotate up towards the top side of the map, but it's just a little bit slower out of natives. Taco's stepping up,
Tacos
might get
is-
caught here.
Not happy fun times, trying to get on, out, and away. Blast cone used well, and it's going to Grand
Oh
Star
my.
fall out.
Hey, fair enough, I respect it, you know. Is going to be able to survive, it gets away with this one. And actually, interestingly, it's just going to be Oct heading down towards, up towards this top side of the map, whereas Moo, headed down into the bottom lane, is going to be able to farm far freer into Sharpie than he was into the bottom lane of Bulldog Academy. Just has to be careful not to step too far up, otherwise can get into a little bit of trouble in front of a Renekton. But that does still give a very, very free lane over right here to Bloodlust and Kakashi. They're going to be more than happy with this one. Just put some pressure on. They can take their resets and head out kind of wherever they want to on the map. There's not really any big objectives coming up for a couple of minutes. 3 minutes on the Dragon, going to be the next thing to try play around.
They continue scaling up for the time being. 3 minutes until the next major objective on the board. Of course, Bulldog Academy do have the feat of strength. The feat of warfare, rather. But
Yep.
they are behind with regards to jungle objectives. Wait, no, they're not. The tracker
3
just hasn't
grubs.
updated. 1 a point. Yeah,
Yep.
1 apiece. Dragon for grubs.
Yeah, they're going to be all good in this situation. Bulldog potentially looking for another dive for themselves right here. Now, it would be a bit risky because Shy is here still. They've got the initial catch.
And can't really commit to it. They know that Shy is here now. They do have a good knowledge, though, that rotating is going to be hard for the side of natives, and so we will see Faulty trying to make his own way down.
Oh
Bit of
my.
damage put onto Shy. Warrior Trickster will be forced out. Don't know
Look
if
at
this
Faulty.
dive can come through.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at that minion.
Hey, look at that minion, Max.
Look at that minion. Oh, no.
Point coming
Oh,
in.
no!
To the bullet time, though. All the damage right over the top, but they're not actually falling. Shy does not
Oh.
die. The Warrior Trickster allows him to survive, but barely. Natives, they orchestrate an absolute stormer of a fight, and
Oh.
Bulldog get caught lacking as they're trying to set it up.
I feel like I say this every single time there's a misfortune on my screen, but it only takes one. It only takes one situation in which people step a little bit too far forwards, and this is a gorgeous combo. This is what we were highlighting during the draft phase, that yes, you've got some decent damage, and you've got some nice slow team fights where your Jinx is able to just hit people, but in a snap engage in which Oct is able to get multiple people in with the Magnet Storm, you could follow that up very easily with the Wukong ulti and layer the bullet time on top. You see it right here. If you're able to land it like that, oh, it's going to be gorgeous every single time. And this is also a huge amount of damage to come through early on into the game, right? This isn't the misfortune at that 2-item breakpoint where you're really dealing that big damage. And so, to be able to grab that right there in a situation where you have to get yourself back into the game, you were beginning to fall behind for natives. Huge engage from Oct right there.
So it was the first 8 minutes were no. I'm not going to curse Bulldog
Not again! Not
They had
again.
a great start again. We now need to see them pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Yeah.
Like, that play did not go their way, but Bloodlust is still strong.
Yeah, you're
Already
not
got-
out of the game yet.
Yeah, Wild Arrows completed, 3 kills. You're doing all right.
Yes. Yes, very much so. Drake is now going to be available, but it's been long enough that the majority of these ultis are back up. Shies is on the way right now. You can see TP's coming in.
Grand Starfall trying to find the MF, does get the ultimate avoided, but unfortunately Faulty is already dead and it is a pretty split fight as it
Bloodlust
stands.
caught.
The engage towards the backside, Bloodlust has been found, there's just too much backline dive, and nobody from the side of Natives is falling. Point trying to chase Sharpie under the turret. Dalbany is going to feel that one. It's a trip for the Camille. He takes one too many tower hits. Tarnish the team fight just a little. I don't think they give a singular damn. It's another one Team Dragon in their pockets, and it's another massive infusion of gold.
And at this point, it's just a little bit sad for Bulldog, right? They get themselves these big early leads, but they just can't pay it off in these team fights. And the problem in this team fight is that they're just spread a little bit too thin, and as much as you manage to cancel out onto that Misfortune ulti, Moo's still able to just sit and hit, and the remaining members of Natives are just strong enough. A lot of these team fights that we saw going wrong earlier on didn't include Dalbany. Point wasn't there. These two have had decent laning phases for themselves, so are strong enough to just play it well during these team fights. Yes, Dalbany does die in the back end of that one, but it's still going to be absolutely fine. And this is the thing, right? As much as the wombo combo is strong for Natives, they've got ways to win these team fights even when it doesn't get pulled off. And Bloodlust, he just wasn't allowed to hit at all during that team fight, was just immediately jumped by Shy and Dalbany, and that's exactly what Natives need to do. They have to replicate that every single team fight, and so far so good.
This team fight, as you say, it may be the wombo, you know, but level 1 is the wombo combo, but it ain't just Falco. For this composition. As you say, there's plenty of pick tools, there's plenty of damage coming, and it is making a point with the Nidalee this game. He's really starting to hurt. 1.5 items, trending towards 2 as Oct looks to find potentially another engage, flashes up.
Yeah, does he want it? Goes
Right
in, bullet time
in.
through. Okay.
No flash, no nothing, no hope, and he will drop. Tacos is coming in to try and salvage something from this play, but there is nothing left to be found. In the meantime, the Rift Herald has been summoned in. First turret has been secured. Natives, they have completed the feats of strength. They even get a charge in tier 2 in mid lane. It might have been a rough first 8 minutes, but they are turning this one forwards. Immediate.
Salt in the wound. Salt in the wound right there. And Brack, when I said earlier, and we were laughing, right? You know, Bulldog, they've had a good early game, ha ha ha. And I asked, hang on, Dalbany might just be dead. This is at least something for them potentially to get back here.
Hextech Ultimatum, flash.
He's going to take him on a run, at least. He's got no mana,
yeah, I mean, there's no TP, so...
Oh, but Point is on the way.
I think the shield. Yeah, of course. Remember, Nidalee's got a heal, guys.
Yeah. Yep, that's unfortunate. Kakashi is in the area, but he's just not going to arrive early enough. Dalbany is going to be allowed to get away with this one. Now, potentially, they could have gone for an engage. Yes, you lose your tower in the top lane. Thank you very much for highlighting that, observers, but... still, I don't know. And actually, Sharpie might get cancelled right here. Point has to be careful. Sharpie doesn't have the ulti, though, and Point does do a lot of damage with that Blackfire Torch. Misses the spear, so Sharpie is going to be able to cower underneath his tower, but gets hit by the second one, and... yeah, the burn won't be enough to pick up this kill, but it is going to send him running all the way back to his tier 2 tower.
This tier 1 should be easily enough picked up by Point here. We're waiting around 90 seconds until the first Infernal Drake will spawn onto the Rift.
And this is the thing. When we said, have Bulldog Academy being able to pay off an early game lead into a win, how often have they been able to pay it off was the question. And the actual answer is none. They didn't win a single game for themselves during Division 1. They didn't win in that first game of promo relegations up against Absolve. And they're now on the ropes in the second one, down by 4,000 gold, and it's so rough to watch.
Tacos caught out in the jungle, trying to use the blast cone to get to safety, but they're blocking it. In fact, ends up sending Dalbany into the face of Faulty. Nico is going to be okay. But, I mean, the vision kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
The river completely warded up all the way side of natives.
Yeah.
Not a
Yeah.
single Bulldog Academy ward is present.
Oh,
We
the
see
flank.
these engage members lurking, trying to find an engage onto Bloodlust.
This is not Bulldog Academy's bot side jungle. This is very much natives. They're just going to jump right here onto Kakashi, and I don't think there's anything he can do. Just going to be taken out. That's the support going down right before the Drake is going to spawn. That's going to be an easy pickup right here for natives. That's going to put them on sole point right now. The response out of Bulldog is to attempt to get a pick.
Point. Has to flash, has to run, but you damn mobile movement speed, plus the leaps, or the pounces, plus the heals from Point's human form. And in the meantime, Muanok take down the tier 2. Now, Point will step forwards to prevent, effectively, Tacos from stepping forwards to contest this Drake take. They've got the damage. Moo chasing up. Oct not too far behind. Tacos not going to be able to get away. The chase down is just far too much.
It's a disaster right here. Point actually going to get stunned up decently right here. Gets rooted as
do
well.
Sharpie is able to pick up the cable to survive by flashing over the wall. Oct going to be able to jump on
Bot lane,
away
though.
on the other side of the map.
Yeah.
Shy and Dalbany able to take down Faulty and pick up a tier 2 turret. This is the bigger.
Yep.
When natives get something, they always pick up something more.
Exactly. Every single time they're just a little bit more proactive across the map, and a lot of this has stemmed right here from the way that Shy has been able to play just all over the board at the moment. Now completes that second item, going to have the Sundered Sky as well as the Trinity Force and just some extra armor as well. This man is incredibly strong. We'll have a look back at what it was that ended up happening to Faulty, but I think I know the answer. I think he just gets instantly jumped, and yeah, I mean, there's very little you can do. Isn't even able to...
tries to find it.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit that Pop Blossom onto Dalbany, maybe you're able to walk that one away, but even then, you might still get jumped. And that's, again, with all of this bottom lane pressure, with all of the vision you've got available to you right here as natives, Bulldog, they're just gonna have to concede over this Atakan as well. They've got 4 minutes, just under 4 minutes, until it's gonna be the soul available. And it would be an Infernal Soul too, just to rub salt in the wound. A great early game from Bulldog. Once again, does not translate into mid-game success. And it's gonna be all on Bloodlust, it feels like, to be able to survive long enough in these team fights to carry his team through to this matchup on Thursday.
Right now, pretty damn good for natives, and I feel like we have to shout out again the talent that Division 2 continues to send up for in the Four Nations ecosystem.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
natives are, in theory, the second seed.
Yes.
You know, have themselves that measure of vengeance absolved in the previous game.
Absolutely, and because they came into this as the third seed, because it's based off of seeding if everybody is tied, they have to win their 2 games. It's not good enough for them to not. Gonna jump over the wall and... oh boy, yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye to Bloodlust, bye-bye to Kakashi as well. And now, even pre-Baron, I mean, this base is getting cracked wide open right here for natives.
It's 21 minutes. I foresee in which the Baron doesn't even spawn.
It's possible. It's
The
really
inhibitor
possible
turrets
right
are already
now.
being besieged. Tacos is running for the hills. Shy chasing forwards. A second inhibitor turret will fall. A second inhibitor will fall. There is only one piece of standing gold outside of the native base. That is the tier 2 in top lane. One has to assume that is where natives would be looking
Don't stop
next.
their
However,
bases. Oh boy. Oh boy.
they're able to do it, but how much does that matter? Shy and Oct taking so much damage and being able to be mostly chill with it. Oct will be the price that is paid to shut down 500 gold into the pocket of Sharpie.
That's
Salt
something.
Academy. They show they've still got some teeth.
Yes. Yes. And this is the thing, right? We see it again and again in these team fights where you just... Tacos, you cannot step into this bush. This is not your jungle anymore, buddy. This... yeah. Just gonna get forced away. Sharpie actually potentially could also be getting caught right here. Faulty.
Faulty finds the Pot Blossom, but it's only
Oh,
Shy who gets caught. Moo goes unstoppable, and Sharpie not going to be able to get out. Double the MF, who's 2.5 items, despite that rough early
Yeah.
6-12.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you highlight the rough early game again, because this was a 3-0 Jinx in the bottom lane, right? That's exactly what you want from your composition that's really built around the Jinx, but it just hasn't been able to pay off. Point takes a huge chunk of damage, but so much survivability. The jump away, the heal's coming through as well. Look at that heal. Huge amount of health back.
600 health healing. There is just no Bulldog left on the Rift to defend Bloodlust all alone. There is the respawn of tacos, but the inhibitors have fallen. The Nexus turrets have fallen. They are attacking on towards the base. Natives, in 23 minutes and 45 seconds, stamp their authority on this promotion series. They say seeding don't mean jack. We are going to go to stay, we're going to go and play against Absolved to get just some more vengeance, I suppose, for Division 2 on Thursday.
Exactly. I mean, we keep highlighting it, right? That Division 2, they're no slouches. A lot of different leagues around, Division 1, Division 2, there are monumental gaps between the quality of play. That's really not the case here in the Four Nations. Division 2, genuinely, between the top of that and the bottom of Div 1, they're really close. They're really fun to watch, these promotion relegations. We highlighted it at the top of show, right? 5IQ, they're one game away from being able to win the entirety straight off of promotion. But you could look at them and go, okay, sure, that's a streamer team, right? They were too good for Division 2, too good for Division 1 anyway. But Simple, before they collapsed, they were looking really strong as well. They were taking some games off of some strong teams, and now you're seeing it right here. We've got a great ecosystem here in the Four Nations, and it's great to see Natives be able to pick up these 2 wins, like you said, as the bottom seed coming in.
The question now for Bulldog Academy. They have most of a week now to wait.
Yes.
They still have their chance to return to Division 1, and it will be playing against whoever loses of Absolved and Natives Academy on Thursday. They need to watch that series. They need to glean every bit of information they can from it, because their Division 1 lives are very literally on the line on that game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you managed to win that final matchup, and hey, back you go. And that's exactly what Bulldog would want. Bulldog really are not looking to get themselves down into Division 2. You buy up what is a pretty weak roster from Vertex, so, you know, nobody was necessarily expecting for them to compete for the top of the standings, but you would have at least wanted to keep your spot. Still, it's a great opportunity, potentially, for a couple of newer-looking rosters with some names that we didn't necessarily know. You know, we're looking at a lot of these members here on Natives and saying, hey, we actually don't know these names particularly well. There's some returning names as well that would be exciting to see up in Division 1 too. It's just such an exciting time, but scary. Very scary right here for Bulldog.
Yeah, and like them, you want to get yourselves glued to your screens on Thursday. Same time, same place, as the 2 Division 2 representatives brawl it out to see who will be our first promotee towards the Four Nations Summer Split 2025. That, of course, is a couple of days away, and then Bulldog on Saturday. Max, any final thoughts? Or I mean, you had a bit of a monologue there, which I feel like at least encapsulates most of my thoughts. You got anything else?
Yeah. Love promotion relegations, I really do. I think it's super exciting to be able to get to see these teams. We've also, of course, got the open qualifiers going on at the moment as well to get yourself into Division 2, and we've seen teams go through open qualifiers, get themselves into Division 2, and then make their way all the way up to Division 1. It's so much fun.
Their name was Intquig. Spring finalists.
Yeah.
1 game from lifting the trophy. They went from OQ, Div 2, Div 1, and now they are brawling at the top. Keep your eyes on these 2 teams, because one of them might just be our summer finalists. We'll wait and see, though, as that tale may continue to be told on Thursday. See you there.